Are we live? I think we're live. We are live.
Hey!
Hey, welcome.
What's up? I was gonna play a game with my darling brother Nick.
Darling, I bet he really appreciates that.
And we were just launching it up when you called. And so we made eye contact and he said, do what has to be done.
Nice. What game?
It's a game we bought for $2. 99 cents. It was on sale, apparently.
Wow.
It's called No Reload Heroes.
For the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. So how you doing? Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh.
We're live. So I just got through asking how I'm doing. Doing an interview with Big B Lupo, aka Mr. Good Bear.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Heard that.
So that was pretty exciting. And then the other exciting thing is my coworker who I invited to the chat tonight. He hopefully will be able to join us. I've invited him, and he agreed. He agreed to it when we were at work. So I think that they had to stay back. I left at 5 because I have to get home to allow my wife to go out to shop on Friday nights. So it is what it is. But yeah, it was interesting. And Big B Lupo will be making a special video all about my erratic behavior over the last 6 months or so, and strange things that I've said. And it's supposed to be a satirical and interesting type of narrative or biography, something along those lines. So
wow, he must really like you.
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. That's
a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing. It's kind of an honor and interesting and silly all at the same time. And he's a cool guy. And
I don't think anybody would do that with my stuff.
He made a video that breaks down the entire. I don't know if you were there that night on Owen's stream when he banned Pender and banned Mr. Good Bear and called Mr. Good Bear Mr. Bad Bear.
I think I remember that.
But it was it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. And then how Big B Lupo did his video was pretty funny. Well, we will figure it out. So I'm getting
blisters. I've got blisters all over my hands.
What from?
Gardening mostly.
Gotcha.
Even though my brother does most of the work now.
What, with gardening?
Yeah, with gardening. But I still bear the scars of the original planting. Not to mention some yard work I was doing for a farmer. So
yeah.
Pretty cool. So are you going to ask me how my day was been? Or is it just going to be all about you?
It's not all about me, but I am typically very selfishly minded. And that's it's a good thing that you're pointing out.
I'm just messing with you.
No,
no,
I need reminders.
It was satirical because no one thinks that about you. Everyone thinks that I'm selfish? About me.
I'm not good. Like, so people are like, how was your weekend? Literally a question I would never ask someone. Ever. Unless I was asked to ask.
Yeah, but that's more just because you're like head in the clouds kind of.
If I understood what that meant, I might agree with you. Yeah, man. What's going on with your what's the latest, bro?
So this one guy this rotten liar and subversive man said God is a pedophile.
Yeah.
And I have been, now that's not the only thing that happened, but that would probably be the climax. And so I've been filled with rage until a couple hours ago about that. And then, it's interesting that they're streaming at the same time.
Who? Oh, the Gomorrans?
Yeah, them, and also Stephen Ignoramus. But I think he's probably finishing up.
Yeah, Ignoramus, this is his third stream today. This was like a marathon day for him.
He's pretty legit. He doesn't know very much, but that's kind of in the title.
Yeah, I like his style. I think he does. So apparently, I'm trying to get my buddy on here. I was hoping that Jeremy, like intoxicating and Breath of Fresh Bear would join us.
You got to get Alex on here. He gets back from work in about half an hour. But Mr. Good Bear says, "Is that Nate? This is going to be a good one."
Oh yeah, I don't have chat pulled up yet. I'm multitasking a little too hard right now, so just bear with me on the comments, guys. I have.
So this guy said God is a pedophile, and so I got to be pretty upset about that, and so I went off, just telling him that he was a liar and a subversive. Anyway, so that got us into a conversation, but I ended up getting banned from their Discord for 24 hours, and then he said, "You've been banned for 24 hours because you personally attacked." And I said, "Well, you all personally attacked me, you hypocrites." And I basically quoted the worst, like some of the roughest things Jesus said. And then I said, "When I get back on there, I'm going to say you're a liar and you're a subversive again." And he said, "Well, you can do that if you want." Anyways, so we ended up talking, and I ended up sharing the gospel with him after about 30 hours of him pestering me with why the earth wasn't 6,000 years old and all this nonsense. And anyways, but I shared the gospel with him, which was fun. And then, but when I got banned, I went on to a group, a couple of groups. I went on to your group and said, "Hey, you guys should come in here and rebuke them." And I went on another group and told them the same thing. And there was one dude who got pretty upset about that. And so he's been texting me back and forth. And I've been calling him a coward, and he's been calling me arrogant. So it's been pretty normal all in all. So
yeah. All right, so help me out here. When you get an invite for this, I don't understand how to help my buddy, because he said he went to his email and he didn't see. I thought it sends you an email when you get invited. How does this thing work?
Sometimes it sends an email. For me, since I've got you on my thing, it just looks like someone's calling me. And someone's here.
Yeah, I see the comment, but it says, "Looks like I made it," but...
Who's William Hank?
Oh, so "Looks like I made it" is my friend, but he's not here in video.
William Hank, the amount of question marks you're coming in here with, man, you're coming in pretty hot, and I'm a little worried that you might be, into male rectums. So,
Gamoran activities.
Right.
He's here in chat, but he's not here in video. So we're still working that out, trying to figure it out.
What's Mr. Good Bear all about?
That's Big B Lupo, aka Mr. Good Bear, and that's.
I know you think that's helpful.
What do you mean? What's he all about?
I don't know. Has he been around for a while?
Oh, my dude, I don't bother with cams. LOL.
Are you on your phone? Just go on your phone.
As in, I don't own one.
Well, neither do I. I'm on my phone.
Yeah,
What's up, Boingo Bear?
Join us via your phone. You don't have to show your face.
Boingo Bear, do you still like me? Are we friends?
Just your voice would be fine.
So let's talk about this blasphemy thing, because I'm more in favor of stoning people to death every day. Seriously. I mean, seriously. I think we should stone some people to death.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I just answered a question slightly related to that.
Really? I bet you were wrong.
No, he had asked me. I don't want to give too much away, but my thing is I don't want to. I'm too harsh as a judge. I got a mic, so not sure why I can't hear anyone. Because you're not in the video. You're not. Oh, there you are. Hey, there you are. Can you hear us?
I like Mr. Good Bear. I don't necessarily trust him, but I like him. And
he's good.
Hello.
There you go. There you go.
Sorry about that. I'm just gonna mute myself till I can find push to talk. Y'all keep going.
All right.
Was he speaking a different language?
No, he's talking about. He said he was going to mute himself until he finds push to talk.
Oh.
Apparently, he's done that before. I don't know.
Push to talk. It's just so that you hit a button to open your microphone, so it's not always open.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, cool.
Walkie-talkie style.
Interesting.
So, can you see? Do you have us pulled up? Can you see us?
Yeah, I can see y'all, and then I can see my little icon in the bottom down there. Yeah.
All right, cool.
So what manner of man are you? Some sort of cat-lion combination?
No, this is just from my YouTube channel.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
So, speaking of, everyone, check out, how can they check out your YouTube channel? What do they need to type in to find you?
Just my name, Ryan Varus, Varos. I just got like some gaming stuff on there. Really, it's nothing, anything anything related.
Your master?
Who's my master? I am my own master.
Okay, that's interesting.
So what I really wanted to happen tonight, and
it is interesting though. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I really wanted to happen tonight is I wanted to give Ryan an opportunity to ask the kinds of questions that he feels like he might not have been able to ask to people willing to patiently answer them. So the theme and the topic, obviously, the name of this video is Common Questions of a Christian Skeptic. Somebody that rejects Christianity for whatever reason. But what kinds of questions do you have?
Do you reject Christianity, or do you reject God, or do you reject church, or do you reject Christ?
I reject. I guess. I mean, I don't reject any religion. I just reject, I guess, the institutions of the whole thing. I guess.
So church.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair one to put it. I don't want to feel like I'm putting y'all down or anything, because I don't like the word reject. It's not like I'm shunning y'all or anything.
Well, maybe you should. If you're more honest about it, that's fine.
Well, no, I like everybody, or at least I try to. So.
That's interesting.
Sorry, I just missed like the last 10 seconds because I was transitioning to headphones.
Well,
I missed all of it so far because I just transitioned to being here.
I'm glad Chuck's here. I probably need to simmer down a little bit. You all should understand that I just ran out of both alcohol and soda. So
both things.
So you've plateaued. That's a good place to be.
I do have Mountain Dew, which would never be my choice. I think it's the devil's drink.
I don't know. Ryan Veros is the king of Mountain Dew.
Is he?
No, it's Mellow Yellow, man. Mountain Dew.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Touche. Mellow Yellow's got more flavor anyways.
It's okay, man. It's all just corporate brands.
What does this self-proclaimed king of Mountain Dew think of Black Label?
What do you think of Black Label?
I only drink clear liquors because I'm an awful person.
He's talking about Mountain Dew. Yeah,
True.
he thought you were talking about Johnny
Is that
Walker,
clear?
like a man would be talking about.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Just because I don't drink it doesn't mean anyone else can't.
Is that liquor,
And
Devin?
by the way, I'll do my
Is
best.
that pretty clear?
I guess that's fine. I could probably sip on that, but
Is it
I do
liquor?
want to say I will do
It's
my
Scotch.
absolute. I'll do my
Uh,
absolute best to keep my language PG. By the way, I do a pretty decent job at work, so I feel like I'll do fine here. But if I slip up, I'll apologize.
and then Nate's over here scratching his forehead. He has the Forrest Whitaker eye going on over here, trying to
I
keep
didn't
his
know
face
that I
straight.
was the one asking the questions, man. I didn't know what was going on here. You just wanted me
No,
on.
man. So here's what happened, guys. Just build a little
Don't worry
context.
about it. Your time has passed.
Nate, mute yourself, Nate.
What?
I'm trying to talk here. So I was at work today, and I was remembering about the topic of tonight's discussion, and I was like, well, I don't know very much about Ryan's beliefs, really. I've heard him say some things. I know that he cares about people. He's a pretty positive dude, kind, intelligent, all those good things, respectable and rational. So I was like, but I know that he also kind of had said some things that were like, I don't know, anti-church or whatever. So I was like, I want to get to know a little bit more about him, and I figure he's probably on the side of the skeptic. So, I invited him, and here he is.
You thinking I'm playing both sides or something, huh?
No, I don't think you're playing both sides. I know that you're sympathetic towards, you've said things that are sympathetic towards Christians, but you've also said things that are, what's confrontational too, such as the libertarian concepts, such as who do I think I am, and what right do I have to impose my beliefs or thoughts on another person, kind of stuff, right?
but I mean, the same could really
well,
be
I mean,
said
I guess
about.
what I'll rebuttal, it's not even a rebuttal, but what I'll say to that is, with the rights and all that fun stuff, I mean, with the Christians, you guys do have that whole, it's God that gave you those rights, and so that makes them untouchable, so that's something I do respect about it. So I do believe that rights come from a, like, whole or higher something. I'm not going to say it's a dude in a cloud or anything, but, I think, like, at least the human collective as a whole should be seen as an entity that should be respected,
Do you think we think it's a dude in a cloud?
No, I mean, anyone is entitled to what they believe, and I'm sure that you don't have the same image in your head as Devin, and I'm sure that everyone at church would have a different image of what it would be. So that was just me. I guess sorry if that was like a low blow or something. I was just trying to generalize it.
No,
I mean, I think you're more accurate than you probably think you are, because I mean, no, if I would say probably, I'm just to throw a general statistic out
I can't
there,
be crass,
wrong.
so like I said, if I come off that way, I'm sure Devin will attest I'm a nice person. I can just be, I guess, rough around the edges.
I would honestly say that probably 60 to 65% of Christians have that exact image of God, like that He is some dude in the clouds.
I guess that's my general reply. It's definitely. I'll give you all that. It's definitely, you guys have more of an authority to say about rights when you have a divine order on top of it.
What's like your background? Why do you think the way you think?
I've been around for 30 years and seen a lot of things, man. That's I don't know. I just try and like figure out what I see in front of me and make sense of it.
How were you raised?
I was raised with both my parents until one got they both got divorced, and my mom moved down to Florida, and then I eventually came down here to live with her, and then it was a back and forth between my mom and my dad. It was very amicable between the two, and they always did what was best for me and my brother. But yeah, I was always with just one parent at a time most of my life, but they were always both available.
What were they like?
No, they're very nice. Yeah. My mom, all my good traits come from my parents.
Okay. Where do your bad traits come from?
Not handling situations properly. Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Nate, you should be able to answer that question fairly well.
Which one?
Where do bad traits
Wait,
come
what was
from?
that? I'm sorry. I thought you said you'll be right back.
Well, I'll take it with me. I don't want to miss anything. I'm worried because I broke my phone and it's not charging properly.
Somebody's got a pretty decent amount of background noise.
It's Chuck. It's always Chuck.
A TV, maybe?
I don't have a TV playing.
No, Chuck. I think you have an echo or reverb.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
It's all good.
I muted myself there for a few seconds there, so I don't think it was me if it kept.
No, it's not. You're in a pretty quiet environment.
I got you. Yeah, I'm just worried about if you guys hear any echoes coming from me, let me know.
Yeah. No, I actually guess it was. Chuck. So we'll just do our best. Again, if anybody sees, just at me in the YouTube chat, send me a message if there's any issues with the audio, guys, and we'll just try and keep it as clean as possible. All right. So, do you have any? Why is this the way that it is? Kinds of questions, Ryan. What? Like, do you have any, like, this has bugged me for a long time about why, like, something that's unreconciled in your conscience or whatever about Christians?
No, I don't have any, like, negative thing about them.
Or, like, cooties. Like, something that's like, I would never be a Christian because of fill in the blank. Like, something along those lines.
Well,
right?
I don't want to feel the other ones to be left out.
Okay, yeah. You had mentioned one day at work, and that's kind of where I got a little bit of understanding about your mentality about things, is you referred to it as like a roulette table, right?
Yeah, I think of it as I guess a haberdashery would be a better way of putting it. It's like, I'll just try and be a good person and do my best and, like, try and not be an asshole most of my life.
What qualifies as a good person?
We try. I mean, if we're trying to question where morals come from, I mean, it's just how I feel about it and why. I just want to, like, help other people. I guess that's.
So would you say that, like, the Christian principle of the golden rule would be still applicable?
Go.
Is there any such thing as an evil person?
A person can be evil. Can someone? A person can act in an evil way, but can a person be evil itself? I don't know, man. I'd have to honestly say yes, because there are good people out there. So maybe there are evil.
What do you think about the idea of those people going to hell?
That's on them. That's none of my business.
But you wouldn't be in that category.
I mean, I share that view.
I mean, in your logic, yes.
Huh?
I share that
your
view.
train of thought, yes.
What's my train of thought?
Well, in the Christian's mindset, I absolutely am going to hell.
Why?
Well, because I reject Jesus Christ, I think it is. I guess is how you guys phrase it. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's a simple way of putting it, for sure.
Well, why would rejecting Jesus Christ make you go to hell?
Because wasn't he forgiven, or wasn't he put up on the cross for wait. When I worked at the hotel for 8 years, it was filled with Christian black ladies. So hold on. I got this. Hold on. And by the way, they spent 8 years working on me and they failed. So just full disclosure.
Well, black ladies have spent way longer than 8 years trying to work on black men, and it doesn't seem to have changed them very much.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think everything's messed up, but
It is.
Isn't it because if I reject Jesus, then that's me rejecting him dying on the cross?
Why would he die on the cross? Why would God make his own son die on the cross?
Did he?
I mean, I think he did.
I mean, we all had free will, so if everyone has free will, then he didn't do it. It's like the perfect way to get out of it, too. Isn't it great?
What's the perfect way to get out of what?
Yeah, a perfect way of getting out of all responsibility. If you give them free will, then it's like, hey, it's on them. I gave them control. Oopsie doopsie. You can't really get mad at your boy up there when he's got that kind of going for him.
Well, I don't know, because if you're the father of a parent, or if you're the father of a kid and your kid does something, it might have been his free will, but you're still responsible for it. Like if the kid breaks somebody's window or something, you didn't make him do it, but you still are responsible for it. So I'd say God is responsible for our crimes almost as much as we are.
Well, then how does he make it better? Because if it's your kid,
he makes it better by receiving the death penalty.
Oh, because he's the same person, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. What's the Holy Spirit then? I always wondered that, the last part in the Trinity. The Father, the Son.
Well, no. I mean, Christians wonder that too. Like, people are real confused about it. So don't worry about it. It doesn't matter.
That's why there's a lot of what are the different what are they called? You know, you guys are Christians, but what are the different, like, Baptist and
well, there's denominations, but
denominations,
there's also, a
Yeah,
couple
of
of
course,
schisms.
of course, there's a lot of denominations, because
it's based on that triangle right there. I'm sure a few denominations are based off of.
True, that's true.
I mean, if a religion was going to set you free, because I don't think any other religion claims to set you free. I might be wrong. I know Islam doesn't. Judaism might, but most
no, because Judaism is all about working your way through like an eternal purgatory that eventually cleanses you, and everybody goes to heaven. Judaism's really a form of heaven only for the Jews.
Sure. So the point is that if Christianity set you free, of course there would be a bunch of different denominations, because everybody would disagree about things. They'd be free to do so, right?
Wait, say that last little bit again about the denominations agreeing. Oh, wait. Are you referring to how, like, there's at least a base set of agreements that the denominations have? Is that the point you're trying to make?
No, I'm trying to say that if Christianity set you free, then of course there would be a bunch of different denominations, because everyone would disagree.
Oh, I gotcha.
Because they're free to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is why it's awesome that there are so many different denominations.
Yeah, I'm never against it. It's just, honestly, like I was saying with the whole thing, man. It's like you know, walk up to the booth, and if you have the right hat on, you win a prize. You know, it's like I don't like to play that game. So,
what do you mean?
Well, there's like 100. There's like, how many religions are there in the world? You know, if I pick one, I'm gonna exclude the others, and I don't want to just play, you know, which one's it. And so that's how I feel about it.
You'd have to look at them all logically and just see which one made the most sense and which one was true. I think.
Okay, so hold on. That's an interesting statement you make, Nate, because that requires a presupposition that there is one that is true. And my question for you, Ryan, is: do you believe that it is? Well, I want to frame this in the right way. First, I'll start with: do you believe that it's possible that there is one true, like, belief system that actually has the truth?
Well, if that were true, then wouldn't it make every other religion basically a Satan's prank to lead you astray?
Basically,
yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, do you believe that it's possible that there is one that actually does have, like, a pathway of truth?
Hey, man, anything's possible.
Okay. But then, so possible, but you don't believe that there is actually one that has the truth.
Oh, this is kind of similar to a conversation I think I may have had with you. It's like, do you believe that one is an actual thing or not?
Yeah. You're talking about the number thing.
Yeah. Is information real?
Well, yeah, because it goes back to kind of a root question of, what is absolute truth? Is there such a thing as absolute truth? And the logical man will typically say, yes. Can we know it? It has always been the follow-up question. But modern time, in the last 100 years, people have begun starting around the 1940s, 1950s, people started to reject the concept of absolute truth. Actually, you could say it started with the Renaissance, and there was a decline even as far back as the Renaissance, but rejecting a concept of absolute truth. But
You're talking about moral
I'll say this
relativism,
if I can
Devin?
interrupt for just a second. There may be an absolute truth, but I don't think you'll ever find it in a book of any kind, whether
And
that be religious or science.
why not in a book? Why not in a book?
Because truth is something that has to appease to all five senses, I think.
Okay.
I think you have to see it. I think you have to hear it, and to an degree, I guess, smell it and taste it. And when you smell, that's basically tasting. So I feel like for you to know something to be true, you have to have your entire body make an agreement on it.
So this is Scotch. How can I prove to you that it's Scotch based on your premise?
I would taste it.
That's the only way that I could prove to you that this is Scotch.
I mean, I could trust you.
Okay. That's a good point. That's a good point. And that's where faith comes in. So that's good. I like that.
Are there any other religions that you like?
I mean,
Do you like Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism?
I think I don't know. I don't know. I've only heard really critiques of Islam, and so I don't want to make an opinion on it. But from what I have heard, it is a war-based religion, so it probably doesn't have much good coming out of it. Okay. So that's just and the way that we can see it run right now, and how it doesn't treat people equally. You can see it's not, fostering a good.
Would you ever want to be Muslim?
No.
Okay, so Islam claims that if you follow Islam, that's the only way to go to heaven, I believe, which means we can eliminate that one. Are there any others that you're interested in?
I mean, I've never really looked into it. I mean, like I said, Judaism's fun. There's like all that mystical shit that's involved with it. Oh, I swear again, sorry. That's fine. That's fun information to look into. But,
well, okay. Well,
I don't think there's been no breeze in my sails in any direction. I guess I could answer that question.
Well, Judaism allows Christians to go to heaven. So,
yeah, I mean, they got a pretty good setup. If I was on the spot to pick one, like I would be like, okay, geez, fine.
well, one thing about Judaism that's interesting is they think it's okay in some situations to have sex with a 9-year-old girl.
No, they're into that too. Oh,
it's in the Talmud. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Islam, I believe, is against that. They just have some examples where they are.
What? No, Muhammad was like he had a child bride, didn't he?
Yeah, but I don't think they teach that. He just happened to have that.
Well, there's definitely strong denominations then that like use him as like a figurehead of an example of what to be. Then, at the very least. Anyway.
So, would you want to be a Jew?
I don't want to be anything.
Mm.
Like I said, I would pick Jew, like if somebody picked me at the last second. But yeah, you have to understand that. And also, like, actually, I lost my train of thought on that one. I'll stop.
So
you were saying you didn't want to pick any of them.
Yeah, I don't want to pick any of them. And based on what I know right now, if I had to, like, or I was going to instantly die, I'd be like, okay, Jews, like, quick. All right.
Okay. If you were gonna die,
like if I was like in a hostage situation, I was like, okay, fine, I will pick one.
Okay.
Like I feel like I would just say it at that point just to get him to calm down.
Do you think you'll ever die?
Absolutely. I'm afraid every time I have a panic attack that it's a heart attack.
Okay. What do you think that'll be like?
I don't know. I feel like if I did DMT, I would know, though.
Oh, no. By the way, let's give a disclosure on the fact that Ryan is a fan of the Rogan.
Oh, no, yeah, he's funny. I like him.
So, when you die, which will happen, right? We can guarantee that.
Yep. That is an inevitability.
Okay, are you going to want to pick a side then, or are you going to want to still not be a part of any of the groups?
I mean, I feel like after after I get to the other side of the portal, I'll feel like I'll get a better feel of what's going on.
Oh, are you sure about that?
I don't know, man. I don't think anybody knows. I'm just gonna wing it, man. How many people have died before us? They all did it. I'm gonna do it too, and we're gonna see what's on there.
Well, the majority of people that have died before us, like the vast majority, probably about 98%, thought it was pretty important to make a decision about how to handle death before they encountered it. So
I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna just assume, if I had to pick anything, it could be reincarnation based on what I've seen in life. So if I die, if it's just me being a little sperm, I'm gonna just do my best to wiggle and wiggle, I guess, and then see where the universe recycles me next, I guess. Because I'll tell you this is one thing I observed. I do believe in a consciousness, and I do believe that I've seen how resourceful that nature is. I don't think they would throw a soul away and spread it evenly across the universe just like that.
You're talking about a consistency. You think that you're one being, not like able to be broken apart into multiples. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I don't think I could be broken down, but if anything, I would just be a finger, I guess, for, I don't know, maybe I feel like sometimes that we're just reflections of God looking back at himself, I guess. And so we would just kind of be like, I think of it as like fingerless gloves, and then the people are the fingers sticking through the glove. And then the whole thing is whatever is the hand is the big guy. If that makes any sense.
It's metaphorically kind of interesting and potentially even beautiful. But that depends on your perspective of the separation, because and that was going to lead me to a little bit of another question that I had for you. Who would you say God is? And then if you don't think that he is, then what do you do about that?
Well, I'll just quote the man himself. I am. Look, I'll tell you this. I get that. That comes from the more you try and describe something, the more you hinder what it could be. Okay. So that is, I think, when that's what the whole burning bush scene was about, like all about. It wasn't like, the normies out there, like the I guess you would say atheists out there would say that it was like some kind of like cannabis reference or whatever. But no, I think that whole thing was about saying that like the more that you describe something, the more you take away what it could be, So
if you were to hear me say that one aspect of who God is he is the uncaused cause, creator of all things. And that's part of what makes him who he is that nothing made him. And that is part of what makes his set apartness and differentness than all other things. And there is God, the creator, is another title, so to speak. And then there is all other things, substance, materials, humans, all creation, the stars, all the universe. So, and there's basically two categories. There's creator and there's creation. And that's a way of describing God. Would you say that
like he's his own dimension? Like, would you describe it like that? Like,
no, I actually think that he exists outside of the dimension that we are experiencing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So I would say that God is above and outside of all dimensions, whether or not there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 64, whatever the theory is.
Yeah, he's the top one.
Yeah, he's above and outside of all of them. Yeah. And creation exists within as many dimensions that may or may not exist, basically. Yeah. And that they're separate. And that's how I would define God. And I don't think that necessarily limits who he is, but you tell me what you think about that.
Well, that goes with an infinite loop problem, though, because if he's the top dog, I mean, how do you know he's a top dog? He could be in his realm, he could be the bottom dog, and
By
then
definition. By definition, that's
wait.
how.
Oh, okay, but you defined him, so you've limited him.
No, because because he defines himself.
Well, he is.
Exactly. And that's what I mean by the uncaused cause. That's what I mean. So the whole thing about, well, what if he's on the bottom? Well, then whoever would be on the top is the God that I'm talking about. Does that make sense? So by definition.
So you're referring, like, you're like, oh, no, I didn't mean that one. I meant like the one at the top.
I'm talking about the one and all, because I would say that there is one and only.
Yeah.
But even if there was hypothetically other demigods like Hercules out there, it doesn't even matter, because the God I'm talking about is the one who created all things. And I personally believe that there's no such thing as any other creators. I believe that there is only the creator. But I mean, that's my beliefs. That's what the Bible supports.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a finite universe. I feel like it's finite. I don't think it's infinite. That would be, because I don't. If it is infinite, then it doesn't matter, because you can't comprehend infinity anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been called into question by even mainstream science recently. The infinitely expanding universe.
Oh yeah, I don't believe any of that nonsense.
I had no idea that that both the other guys left. I'm not sure what happened.
Did I bore them with my heathenism?
No, not at all. Not at all. I just don't. I'm trying to figure. Oh, okay. So one of their phones overheated, so it just crashed for them. And then trying to see what happened to my other buddy. Yeah, I don't know where Chuck went. Chuck is his nickname, but anyway, they'll be back. You care. I mean, you care a lot about the stars and the positions and kind of like forecasting and stuff like that. What why are you interested in those things? What got you interested in, like, kind of forecasting the sun's I forget what those things are, the solar flares and all these different things.
Coronal mass ejection. And by the way, I'm gonna do a plug for my boy real quick, if you don't mind. His app.
Of course.
What's that? If that's okay? If that, like,
of course.
Okay. So there's this app called the Disaster Prediction app, and it's supposed to monitor earthquakes around the world and kind of try and give you the most heads up possible to a natural disaster that you can get. And it's $3 a year until tomorrow, because they're adding a lot of new features, and I think it goes way up after that. But if you have it today, it's grandfathered in. And I followed this guy for 5 years now, and I literally just bought the app today, just because I was like, oh man, I don't want to have to want it later.
That's part of why I did Patreon. Patreon changed their situation, and I did the same thing. I got into Patreon to grandfather. So yeah, okay. So what is the name of this app, and can you get it on iPhone and non-iPhone?
I believe so, and it's just called the Disaster Prediction app.
The Disaster Prediction app. Okay.
Yeah, if the right one has an icon of like the Earth with the magnetic field on it. That's what the icon looks like.
Okay. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
But anyway, honestly, it's just a funny story. It's like I used to like conspiracy theories and stuff a lot, and then I think for a while I was actually starting to think like maybe some of it was true. And to make a long story short, I basically was like came to a point where it's like it's either not true, or if all this stuff is true, it doesn't matter. And so
what stuff is true? I'm missing the context.
Oh, sorry, like lizard people, like this is just a planet to like farm humans, and this is just like
tricks and
you throw a dartboard at a conspiracy theory, and I probably was interested into it, except for the flat Earth. That one's so dumb. Anyone? I'm sorry if there's any flat earthers in here. Stop it.
No, there's probably is one or two.
It's memes, bro. 4chan started that. I was part of it. 4chan started that flat earth stuff like 10 years ago. Quit it. It's time to stop. It's funny. Let's see how far this has gone, but it's time to stop.
Well, thank you for that message. I'm one of the advocates of spheres, but
Oblate sphere.
outplayed, yes.
Sorry, but
Only
anyway,
because- yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I got on a heck of a tangent. But anyway, I started watching this guy, and he actually started making like he started like using actual like science and data to actually like try and prove what he was trying to prove, which was that the sun has an effect on earthquakes. And the fact that he was able to pull this data up, and that his model right now for magnitude 6 and above is 86% right now based on his parameters, which is pretty good for like a 24-hour notice for like an 8. That's a good thing to know. An hour in advance before a magnitude 8 earthquake.
What do
But,
you even do if you're, let's say, in Atlanta, hypothetically? Are you saying that it's like a hurricane? You just leave town?
yeah, you would get it right out of there. Well, I say we, but I've only done it a few times. But what we do is we monitor what we call blot echoes, which are micro earthquakes that are happening deep under the earth rather than just the crust. And normally these prelude to a major quake on the surface, and that's normally done that release happens normally after a sun like hits us with like a coronal hole or something like that. Basically after the sun dumps extra energy into the system, the system cracks.
Is that different than what happened a couple of weeks ago with the CME?
No, that would be one way that kind of thing could be caused.
Okay.
That would be coronal mass ejections actually have physical particles in them rather than just like energy, you know. They're more densely packed particles.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, and whereas a coronal hole is just an opening on the sun that shoots higher or shoots energy at us faster in like more dense packets. It's like the same thing that we normally get, but it's in concentrated areas.
Gotcha. I've got a guy that I listen to on YouTube. A lot of people that are on my channel we found each other because of this dude. And he constantly will say that it's hilarious, ridiculous, and insanity to try to claim that light is both a wave. Can you mute yourself real quick, Nate? I'm getting an echo. He says that it's insanity to say that light is a wave and a particle at the same time. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I don't think it could be both. I think it's just a wave.
Can I address something going on in chat real quick?
If you want me to elaborate.
No, we have finished this thought, and then Nate is gonna. There's apparently somebody that's like a Muslim or something in the chat and talking about stuff. But go ahead and finish your thought on. You think it's a wave? How do you explain a photon?
That's their explanation because they can't determine how a wave can be split by itself. Or the experiment. Okay, so the double slit experiment proved it's a wave. What they are having an issue with is that, oh man, where is the contention? I can't remember where the contention of the issue is. Anyway, the problem is that they're bound to the speed of light. And so you don't need it to be a particle if information can be transferred faster than the speed of light. So they call it a particle because it has to interact with something to be able to split. I think that's what it was, is that because it could split. Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna Google it real quick just to double check it. I'm sorry, man.
No, don't be sorry at all. That's a really obvious, like, it's a deep subject that Scott.
While you
Yeah, normally I'm good at like if I bring it up, I should be able to fully elaborate on
fine.
it.
So while you look that up, Nate's gonna address one of the things that's going on in the chat. By the way, do you have access to the YouTube chat right now or no?
I didn't even think about it. I was just worried about like hopping on here. I could probably get to it.
It's you know the name of my channel?
Is it the Gospel Bearer?
Yeah.
I got you.
So
give me 1 second. If you hear me clacking away, I'll be done in just a second.
That's fine.
Hello, everybody. Hello,
My work life. All right.
Hello, Christopher. Zuher.
There.
Maybe you should.
I got you.
I'm gonna turn you down a little bit, Ryan, while you look that up.
Gotcha. I'm here. I'm just gonna mute the actual chat so there's no feedback.
Okay.
What?
But I do see the chat now.
Okay, it's just hard to talk because you're kind of typing and stuff.
I'm still with you?
Yeah. Can you not hear me?
No, I can hear you now.
Okay. Nate is trying to talk, so
I cannot hear him. I think I hear him trying to say something. Like you hear that little that fuzzy noise. I think that's him trying to talk. I think
he's here. Just I'm gonna mute you for a minute, Ryan.
Okay.
So Zuher, I don't know what's up with you. You seem a little bit off, and something about you seems disingenuous. So I don't know what you're doing, but I'll tell you this: if you really live in Saudi Arabia, and there's no church nearby you, which is believable, there should be at least one church that they allow. I know they do in Iran, but it's not so important. What being a Christian means is it means you believe that there was a man who lived approximately 2,000 years ago who died on the cross, that his name was Jesus Christ, and he was actually God, and his death is what allows people to go to heaven, because there's a set of rules that you would have to follow in order to get to heaven. Nobody can follow those sets of rules, and so therefore you have to rely on his death to pay the price that you fail to pay yourself. But believing that might get you killed in Saudi Arabia, especially saying it out loud that you believe a man is God. So just understand that. But that's what being a Christian is. You can't try it. You can't, wear it around town for a bit and see if it fits well. You either believe that or you don't. A number of people will believe that and then give it up later on. So you can be one of those people, but you really can't try that out. You could try out going to a church if there's one nearby you. You could try to acquire a Bible and try out reading it. You could try to acquire several other pieces of Christian literature and try reading those. But you can only be a Christian or not be a Christian. So.
He's literally just trolling. I'm going to unmute Ryan just so he doesn't feel like he's being excluded right now.
Well, even if he's trolling, everything I said should be helpful to everybody listening.
Yeah, of course. I unmuted you, Ryan, just because I wasn't trying to leave you.
So we're banning him?
No, it's not banning. It's called a timeout. 300 seconds.
Oh, okay.
He said he was going to get stoned, Nate. He's being ridiculous.
Well, he might. I mean, I do think he's fucking with us. But no.
You said there's a troll. Can you guys hear me?
I trust.
Yeah, man. We got you.
If he was going to get stoned, he would have already been stoned.
He probably is. Millions. I'm putting so you have access to the chat now, Ryan?
I don't understand.
Hold on, yes, but I need to mute it.
I think it's more helpful with
yes. Okay, I think I'm good now, yeah.
With his messages there. So
you have access to millions of hours.
The best way to reveal the foolishness of others is typically to treat them the way they're presenting themselves. So
I understand that. And I'm not rejecting what you said, obviously. All right.
Sweet. I really want to start a fight, but Devin is so damn reasonable.
Well,
just kidding.
I try to be. There was obviously plenty of people fighting with me. I had a really terrible day at work. How many did you end up doing today, Ryan?
Who, me? Yeah. I think I did 14 or 15.
Yeah, so I did half.
It's okay, man. Man, like 2 weeks ago, I had a 7 and a 9 day, one after another, man.
Well, the last time I had like 7 8s and 7s in a week, they called me into a meeting, and ever since I was hitting 10 and above. But Like I said, I had some distractions.
Yeah, it's
I
okay,
had
man. I think I've
18.
been distracted as well.
I had 18 at one time, but then the
But
next day I
it
had
happens,
2
man.
again.
I'll tell you, for the good thing though, I'll keep it as like not or unpersonal as possible, but you will be fine while Soup is away. While he's gone, you don't have to worry about anything unless you just stop coming to work.
I wondered, but I don't want it to appear that way. I don't want it. I don't want to make it look like while the cat's away, the mice will play. That annoys me too.
Oh man, I might have to use that phrase. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Well, let me tell you a little bit about that phrase. I think it's interesting because people talk about while the cat's away, the mice will play. But if it weren't for the mice, the cat would starve.
If it ate some cat food.
So that's cool.
Devin, why did you invite me on here? You know how I am.
You're fine.
Hey Ryan.
Man. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's all metaphors.
It
I
is.
think you still can't hear me, can you?
But
No, you can hear Nate, can't you, Ryan?
no, it's just I don't see him in. Wait. Do I have him muted? No, I don't.
No, I don't think you can mute.
No, it's just it's the strangest thing
All right,
because
Nate,
I can.
Nate just muted himself because now he's
Oh, it said
smiling.
Ryan Veros mutes you.
Wait, I can see him now. I can see him now,
Hey, did you invite Alex?
but I cannot hear him.
Alex,
You can't hear Nate. He's talking like right now.
Did you invite Alex?
Yeah,
Yes, I invited Alex.
Yeah, I see him right there, and I can't hear him. But you can hear him.
Yeah, I can hear him just fine. I don't understand.
Maybe let me rejoin the call. Maybe that'll work. Maybe it must be on my end because I can hear him on the YouTube channel. 1 second.
Okay.
I'll call back.
Okay.
I was gonna.
Yeah, I invited Alex. I also invited Baldylocks.
You should invite Sing Along Bear. I wanted to ask him how he thinks the world was created because that might go somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. He really knows a lot about space. And what is her email address? Do you remember? I know Ani is in there, but I can't remember how it.
Oh, geez. No, I don't remember.
Finding her email is not easy.
I have run into this problem before with folks who indulge in substances too much, and it gets very circular when you're talking to them about these things. So Ryan strikes me as one of those guys. I don't know if I'm right or not.
No, not really.
No?
He likes Long Island iced teas, but that's about it
Okay.
for the most part, as far as I know. So he left. He's gonna be joining back.
I'm not the only one who thought that, by the way. So I'm not trying to be mean, but
he likes cactuses.
Does he like cactuses? Okay. It was just heavily implied, especially when you were talking about DMT and Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he likes to listen to Ben Shapiro too. So he just likes the people that are talking about the narrative that is anti-mainstream. Anything anti-mainstream basically is what he's into. That's why he refers to people as normies and stuff like that.
Well, when I listen to Jay Dyer, I think he sounds like a trucker. When I listen to Vox Day, I think he sounds like a spiny little nerd. And when I listen to Owen, I think he sounds like a crazy man. So, just because of the way they sound doesn't mean that's how they are.
Yeah, exactly. Because you said that I sounded like a kindergarten teacher. So.
Yes, I did. That one's probably more close to the truth.
All right, what's going on? Normies Ree is I think that's him chatting. Yeah, I'm stuck on. Please wait. Joining the call. Gotcha.
What is Helly Belly talking about?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
You've made some enemies recently, Gospel Bear.
Yeah, there's been, all of a sudden, there's just been a lot of extra random people. Hey, Robert, man.
Hey, I'm driving, so I'm going to be very distracted, but I'm not dead.
Thank you for letting me know that you're not dead, man, because I wondered what had happened. I thought you might have, like, had a falling out with YouTube or something. I didn't know what was going on, but I'm glad you're okay.
I don't think.
Yeah.
What was that?
I run the soundboard at my church, and we got a bunch of new sound equipment and a new pastor. It's been a crazy last 2 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I bet.
We're in a routine now. It's good.
Hey, Devin,
Matt?
can you make me a moderator so I can clean up your chat a little bit?
Is there anything really crazy going on in there?
No, just some random nonsense that's confusing. It's this. I think it's the same situation as what was going on with the Muslim guy.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, we've resolved our issues, so yes, I re-wrench you, sir.
Sweet.
So, Robert,
That'll give me something to do when you guys are talking.
nice. I was really enjoying, some of your videos and stuff. You haven't done any of those. I was wondering if the 1,000 person limit thing kind of threw a wrench in things for you.
No, it was just a matter of not having time, and I got a weird spiral of my flash card or the SD card. I'm old school. The SD card on my cell phone got full, and I had no way to empty it without spending like 5 hours of just my computer being occupied.
I got you.
And then processing the videos to put them together. It's
all right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. Feel free to stick around. I have a coworker friend that's on the chat and in the video here with us, and he happens to be a. How do you identify yourself? Would you just say you're here? You're back with us, right, Ryan?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. All right. Can you hear everybody else?
Yeah, I can see everybody. Whatever was happening, I guess it was on my end, so apologies.
All right, cool. Ryan, how would you identify yourself? Would you say I'm just nothing, I'm just a person, or would you claim some form of a religious title if you had to clarify?
I do the cop-out spiritualist where I know I'm more than just this meat husk.
Okay. So you don't believe in nihilism, basically?
No, yeah, nihilism's for losers.
Technically. You know what I mean? Because they think they lost. They think they've got nothing. Well, nihilism means lost, I think.
Well, it means I thought it meant like to end or destruction or whatever.
Yeah, lose. It means to lose.
By the way, Ryan, you got at least one subscriber out of tonight. So, but anybody in the chat, please subscribe to Ryan Veros. He does gaming, and he also cares a lot about space, and he has a lot of good weather apps and the disaster app that he mentioned earlier that you guys can go back in the chat. But
you guys don't even, I'm sorry to interrupt, you guys don't even have to subscribe. I just occasionally upload. See, you listened to me, Devin. You started doing a consistent schedule, and your 6 turned into, what are you now, like 300 plus now? Let's see.
Yeah, it's definitely plateaued at 350, but I'll go up 10 and then I'll drop 10. I'll make a video that makes a bunch of people angry or bored or something. And I don't know what. I haven't figured it out, but yeah, I'm pretty plateaued at 350.
Yeah, you're in a wait and see, man. It always happens in waves. So. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. That's definitely been, and I'm still new. This started this year pretty much. So it's all good. All right. Well, it's interesting because maybe I'll ask you this question. Is there anything that scares you about existence, reality, the future, like your greatest fear, so to speak?
My greatest fear is the ocean, man. I don't want to be out there. But I don't know, my internal fear or whatever. I don't know. I try not to think about things I'm afraid of.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm finite. That's a pretty big one. Just gotta worry about that. But honestly, I'm a deal with it. We'll cross that bridge when we get there kind of guy. So.
Gotcha. What do you think that there's a? Every time I hear that, I always feel like there's a form of a fallacy, like an assumption behind that. Have you ever considered the possibility that you won't be provided the chance to cross a bridge when it comes?
Absolutely, and I've burned quite a few bridges that I couldn't cross too. And honestly, it was one of the best things I've done in my life. So.
But you're talking about relationships, right?
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
But whatever. You deal with you play the hand you're dealt. So.
Okay.
Yes. Bringing life philosophy and comparing it with gambling. Yes.
What's going on? I don't understand.
Oh, sorry. I thought normally you guys wouldn't want to associate the two things, so I thought it would be funny in context.
Oh, gambling?
Yeah.
We're not Baptist.
See, I don't know. I know the general rules. It's up to y'all to decide the details.
You'll find that the folks that I have on my channel, especially when we do group chats and stuff, we have some things that we agree on strongly, things that we think are the fundamental, most important things to agree on, and then there's other things that we argue about. But the argue is not the right word. Debate. Dialogue.
Yeah, mostly I just educate them on it.
You hear this young man?
Hey, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
How do you think the world was created, or do you think it was?
I go by the Heraclitus philosophy that you can never step in the same river twice, and that it's probably an endless cycle, but who knows?
Wait, you can never step in the same river twice, and it's an endless cycle? Does it repeat?
Yeah, like it goes out and then it comes back in, and then it goes out and then it comes back in.
Okay. So
referring to the universe, yeah.
What we can see as a universe, yeah.
Okay.
So what makes you think that, as far as your five senses? Because you said you need five senses, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I see the world working. Is that
have you ever watched somebody die or seen a dead body?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen 2 dead bodies. Okay. 3 if I count my dog. I watched my dog die.
That's rough. Does it seem like they are going to ever come back?
No.
So why do you think it would repeat?
Because it's not going to be the same person. It's not going to be the only reason that person existed is because of all the circumstances that happened beforehand. For me to be recreated, all prior circumstances that have ever happened would have to repeat itself before I was able to exist again, as I am.
Huh. So what is a person then?
Legally or like what?
No, I mean like in general, what's a person?
Well, person's
like philosophically, spiritually.
Probably an eternal essence in us would be the person.
So it's eternal? Where does it go when we die? Because it doesn't come back, right? It never comes back.
It cycles somewhere.
He entertained that idea with reincarnation. One of the issues that I've had, because I've thought about reincarnation, is I don't understand population flux. Because
there's new souls and old souls.
How do you say that 2,000 years ago, when there's only 400 million or 500 million people on the planet, or 200 million, I don't know exact numbers, but I just know it was under a billion. How do you reconcile where where were the souls that will fill the bodies to come 2,000 years ago and 2,000 years in the future if we make it that far?
I don't know. They might have been a cat or a dog, or they.
Yeah, but
probably
what about
working
the overall do you think that the overall do you think that the collective population of all organisms on the planet has remained neutral?
What do you mean neutral?
Like they're like if you were to take all of the organisms, bacteria to all the way up to human, from the lowest to the highest, okay? Do you think that that number of organisms is identical throughout all time?
No.
Then where are the spirits?
Wait, it would be finite. Yeah, because it's finite in your realm too.
No, this is the whole in reincarnation, as far as I see it, is population change. I can't.
Well, I always just think of it as working your way up. Like
Yeah, but I'm talking about number. I'm talking about the number of organisms. If that number changes at all, where was the soul? Floating?
It's probably somewhere else. Yeah, it's not in the physical realm.
So in the concept of reincarnation, that necessitates floating spirits, is what you're saying, basically.
They got to be somewhere. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not a 1-for-1 transfer. It's not like as soon as you die, you're instantly back somewhere. I don't think of it like that.
Where do you go in the meantime?
Wherever I was before I was born, probably.
Is there a spiritual realm then, or some place beyond Earth and creation?
That's probably not. The creation's a trick word. Stop that. But is there a place beyond the physical realm? Probably.
Actually,
what would that
that's
be?
one of the most mysterious questions of all for, I think, Christians and all other religions and all other philosophies, is that what you mentioned there, Ryan, and that is, you said wherever I was before I was born. It is an extremely fascinating idea. It begs a question, especially from the Christians. Do you have anything to say about that, Robert, in regards to, and then Nate after Robert, but do you have anything to say about who we were, or if we were, before birth?
Just that the Bible doesn't teach a pre-existence of the soul. I know there are some Christian groups that would disagree with that, but in general, most Christian denominations agree that there's no pre-existence of the soul. When a child is born, that's why it's such a sacred moment, is it's a new soul, a new being, that life that's been
Conceived or born?
And then from that moment, say again?
I'm sorry to cut you off. Conception is the soul entrance, or birth?
Conception, whatever magic makes a human live, is when you have a soul of some kind. Whenever life happens,
yeah,
that's what it is. That's why clones, the idea that clones wouldn't have a soul, is preposterous. That's like saying if I melt down my son's Legos, they wouldn't be made out of plastic anymore. I didn't make anything new. I just rearranged what was still there.
Exactly.
You're taking a process that God has already put in the recreation of life.
Cloning is not ex nihilo. Basically,
Right.
This is a recurring conversation that we're having. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree. I've thought about that.
You're making a baby, but you're not doing it the fun way.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Nate, do you have anything to say about the pre-existence
Of the soul?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no.
Okay.
Cared.
Would you agree with Robert mostly?
It's the first I've ever really thought about it. I would say that Jesus. I would say there's a bug just attacking me. I would say that I would say that God, for the most part, works in miracles, and he likes to do things one time. He doesn't repeat himself that often. There's usually little changes. So for the things he values the most, being human beings, and for us being so incredibly unique and so incredibly valuable, I mean, my gut would tell me it's created. The soul is created. But that's off the cuff. I've never really thought about it. I do think there is something to, like a repeating archetype. Like especially if you look through history or into your ancestors, it's interesting how similar you are to your ancestors. But I don't think you're the same person as them.
No, absolutely not. I'm not trying to say that you are. I'm just saying that, with all the cycles that go on, it's, you're cut from the same cloth. You're going to share traits. But like I said, there's never going to, me, who I am right now, is never going to reincarnate as me again.
So who you are would be separate from your spirit or whatever that continues after you die.
Yeah.
So would that make reincarnation significant at all if your identity dies with you?
I don't know. Maybe there's portions of it that you take with you. I mean, because you don't take your body with you, that's for sure.
What exactly do you take with you? Is it just a life force that has no personality? Because
could be the entire experience. I feel like, the reason why I get mad at like the little edgy teenagers, it's like, I didn't ask to be born. I'm like, well, maybe you did and you don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't know that.
Which gets back to my question, which is like, what is a person?
I mean, like, there's definitely several different ways to categorize it. I assume the identity of what you see, well, what you hear, like the person, like the human being, like I'm assuming that identity. It's the role I'm playing until I die.
What do you think your responsibility is to do on Earth? Do you think there's like significance to your birth at all?
I don't think there's a manifest destiny for myself, but I know
Are you accountable to anyone?
That's not the question I asked.
Okay.
Well, it's not.
Okay.
I mean,
there's a nuance
it's
apparently.
Just a way different direction than the one I was looking to go.
Okay, go ahead, Nick.
Sorry, didn't mean to be sharp about it.
No, you're fine. It just caught me off guard. It was funny.
So like, what do you think your responsibility is for being alive? Like, is there a responsibility that you think your life should be spent doing something, or?
Sometimes I'm still wondering about that.
Well, what does your gut tell you?
I don't know. The gut gets me in trouble a lot, so I try not to listen to it too much.
Do you think it's your responsibility not to get in trouble?
I'd rather not get in trouble. It would make my life miserable.
Who are you getting in trouble with?
The law. Oh, I'm not getting in trouble with the law. No, I just meant like I don't know, just I like to like be kind to each other. I feel like that's a general philosophy, and you'll find happiness from it.
Should you be kind to a pedophile?
No.
Okay, how should you treat a pedophile?
That's not for me to determine. That is why we have a law system. And then there's a jail for them.
If you met a pedophile, personally, you met him, how would you feel you should treat him?
With absolute disdain, probably, but I don't see why I would be in a position to ever meet one.
Should you treat me with disdain?
Well, you've probably met more than you realize. Statistically,
should you treat me with disdain?
I mean, you've treated me with kindness and respect, and so I'll treat you with that way.
Okay, so what if the pedophile treats you with kindness and respect, but you knew for a fact he had raped a kid at one point?
I mean, like, I'd have to take it by the situation, but normally I would just try and not find myself in that situation.
Okay, so you'd avoid them, but you wouldn't avoid me, right?
I mean, I feel like I'm getting set up, but
no, I mean, I don't know where this is going any more than you do.
Ryan, I feel the same way every time I talk to Nate, by the way. This is just how he is. It sounds like he has a plan.
But I don't. I think God has a plan, but
Nate is an author. And
this is pretty much how I write my books.
He's a good writer, and he has an interesting stream of consciousness. So
what's the main? I guess the question is, what's the difference between me and a pedophile?
That you didn't bring torment upon a child for no reason.
Well, gospel bearer a little bit differently, or a little bit better than you know me. What's the difference between him and a pedophile? Is it the same?
I mean, I mean, I don't. You're just. This is random. You're asking me to compare a random straw man to somebody that I know personally, and I
Okay.
should have said that with
How
you as
about
well.
how about what is a famous pedophile? Because we can go with a specific person.
I mean, Michael Jackson's a pretty famous pedophile, right? I don't.
Okay, assuming Michael Jackson is a pedophile, what would be the difference? And let's say you. So would you say you should treat him with disdain and avoid him, like you were
Yeah,
saying?
I've never listened. I mean, I've dated people that like his music, and I still don't like listen to it. I don't listen to his music. I'm not interested in it, and I just don't purchase the products and that kind of stuff. You know.
Because of his character,
So,
right?
huh?
Because of his character, right?
I mean, I
Or
never
because you
have.
don't like his style.
I mean, I thought I used to listen to him, but if he comes on the radio, I just change the channel. I feel like that you shouldn't idolize someone like that.
So
Okay.
okay. What's the difference? And I'm assuming you don't think you should treat Gospel Bear that way. You think you should treat Gospel Bear with kindness and respect.
He knows me as Devin, and other people know me as
Devin.
That's fine. Whatever is more comfortable, I can translate.
So what's the difference between Devin and a pedophile? That Devin didn't bring torment on a small child?
Like I said, it's a generalized statement against straw man against somebody that I know. I mean, there's an infinite amount of differences. I feel like you're fishing for a specific answer.
I'm trying to figure out what is evil in your eyes.
Yeah, but I think Ryan would respect
that
your.
you think you should treat evil people, it seems, differently than good or neutral people. So, I'm trying to get real specific about what evil would be. I think you probably don't have a specific definition, but I imagine if we explore,
It's one of those I'll know it when I see it.
right. So if we explore your attitudes with a number of hypotheticals, we should be able to figure out a specific definition that you at least hold unconsciously.
Yeah, but Ryan already said that he holds to a there is an authoritative spiritual force that motivates aspects of truth and aspects of law and aspects of what is good. Am I off at all when I say that, Ryan?
I appreciate the counter. I don't know what it defines. I'm not saying that it's I'm saying you guys have an authority, and it definitely might have an authority over me if there is one, but that's all.
Well, I don't have it. I mean, we don't have, neither one of us have authority over you as a person. We would obviously maybe argue that there is an authority that's over all of us collectively.
That's what he said.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, so if we're
Oh no, his phone's doing that thing. I lost him. Is he still there for you?
Yeah, I think he clicked out.
I gotcha. If he's on a phone, man, have him put that thing on a bag of ice. I used to do that with my laptop when I played games. Keep it cool.
I know. I had to when I was playing PUBG on my phone. I had this like fan thing, which by the way, I need to like sell my. I've got like 2 gaming controllers for cell phone.
Oh God, you were invested.
No, I actually got them for free. There was a Chinese person that's a merchant that sells them on Amazon, and they reached out to me. They reached out to me to like do a video on Amazon, like a video review.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they sort of gave me the thing for free, and then I did a thing, and I guess it's illegal, not illegal, but like against Amazon's.
Terms of service.
Terms of service. I'm pretty sure I violated their terms of service by doing that. But
you're gonna get Jeff Bezos on you, man. You don't want to mess with the top dog.
I'm not really worried about it because I don't know. I don't know what the consequences would be. But honestly, actually, I actually read the policy, and they said that they could file a lawsuit for. I mean, it was just I did read, and it was stupid. Like they could basically make up a number, but I'm like, being sued is like the least. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How do you? It's like you may as well be suing that homeless guy, on the side of the road because
normally when it's involved with that kind of stuff, it's just them pushing to just make a point.
Yeah.
Like I remember CNN did that with like a guy on Reddit one time, and it was just like it's just them like bullying, but they can't just throw a number on it. It has to be. I can't remember what it is, but I can't remember the specific law. But they have it has to be reasonable. Damages have to be reasonable.
Mhm. Yeah.
They can't just keep throwing zeros on there. Even I would laugh at that and throw that out.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long, Ryan, but I do have another question for you if you have a little more time.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Is there anything that you have learned about Christians or Christianity, having worked with me for, what is it, like almost 7 months now?
Something like that. I don't know. Like Christianity in total? I don't know.
Or about Christians in general?
I mean, I like you, and you make a good representation of the organization, if that's what you're looking for. But it's not like, no, you haven't got me closer. You haven't gotten me closer to a few.
Yeah, I didn't think that I had because that's not usually proselytizing isn't my aim.
Oh, is that what it's called? It has an official name? I didn't know.
Yeah, you're the one with the law book at your desk. Am I saying it incorrectly? Proselytizing?
I don't know, man.
It's usually illegal to do that at work. Like it's against like most company policies is you're not allowed to basically tell people that they should believe a religion. It's called proselytizing, and it can happen from any religion.
Oh, I got you. Oh, you're not allowed to do that? Oh, no. Oops.
Proselytizing. I'm pretty sure that's the word. I might. Hopefully, I'm not saying it well. But
I
anyway, no. Somebody said I'm saying it
Does
right.
anybody remember what I was saying?
You're gonna have to ask the chat because I definitely
I got you guys in a bucket of ice.
In a what?
A bucket.
Oh, in a bucket of ice. I hope you have it separated by plastic or something.
I do not.
Oh Lord. Oh, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear.
Crap.
Now the problem is it's also an 8% battery, so I'm gonna have to figure this out.
Can you not hear him at all, Ryan?
Nah, Nate's out again. Anyway.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Shoot, I'll just get out of here, man, so we don't have to keep worrying about it. But I mean, if you had anything else to ask me, I mean, you're good people, man. So, and then I know that y'all are all part of a good cloth. And there's definitely some insights. I've definitely, I'm not good at specifics, but there's definitely some insights that you have mentioned before that have helped me come to a conclusion to things I'm thinking about.
Okay.
I think Ryan.
But anyway, at that, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate the conversation. And I will be at work at 5 a.m. sharp.
Get a good night's sleep, man.
Right.
I'll be a little later than that, but
don't expect anyone else to torture themselves like that. It is my burden to bear.
No, man. I just hope. I hope you know that I do care about you, and
oh, I know. I do appreciate it, man. I do know.
And not in the kind of way that I'm like just concerned about your soul, but I'm concerned about your life while you're alive too. So.
Trust me, man. I had that little spat 2 weeks ago, but that put everything in good motions. I'm good right now, man.
Cool, man. Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm really glad that you were able to hang out as long as you were, and
I hope I was entertaining to the chat.
Oh, yeah, they enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure, and we'll have you back on if you're willing.
Yeah, one of these days, just talk to me at work, and we'll figure something out. We'll network.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Alrighty. Have a good night and get a good night's sleep.
I think Ryan is one of those guys that just needs to be an audience member for a while. He just needs to take in a lot. He's not really, his soul is not ripe for harvest. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's from the Calvinistic thinking, God might not have called him yet. You heard what he said. He thinks he he knows me pretty well, and he does. I mean, 8 months is a pretty long time, and he's seen all different aspects of me, the way that I think, the way that I mention things, and
he's just afraid to commit to anything. He's not. He won't even commit to one opinion on something. You know what I mean?
His perspective reminds me a lot of my little sister, in that how could you possibly choose because of a premise, though. To me, it just is based on a premise, a presupposition that they're all equal. Just like the gambling table, the roulette table. Like 2 is not different than 17, is not different than 31, is not different. But that's a faulty premise. But how can you possibly argue to somebody and tell them why that's a faulty premise? Because
he's just the prodigal son living on his father's inheritance right now, philosophically speaking.
That's a metaphor that's very pretty deep.
You see what I'm saying? Hey, Larry wants to come on, and I think we should bring on somebody that can yell at me for, I could fight with for a little bit, just because we owe it to the people.
Oh my gosh.
There's been so much drama today. Somebody called God a pedophile, and nobody did anything about it, and you're all pretending like it didn't happen.
No, nobody's pretending like it didn't happen. I just had a topic for tonight, and I thought it was good. Does Larry King can come on.
Only if he yells with me.
Yeah, I've got his email anyway, so give me just a moment. Only if he yells with you, oh boy.
Exactly, Jeremy. I am very I hate playing devil's advocate with somebody. I am very Calvinist. If I can sense that someone doesn't really believe what they're saying, I lose my temper.
You said doesn't believe what they're saying?
Yeah. Calvinism, or not so much the whole book of Calvinism, but like the belief in a secure salvation and a predestined salvation is very, very important for situations, especially if you're sharing the gospel with somebody and they're just not committing one way or the other. They just need time. And that's true outside of the gospel as well. Like, you just got to know God won't kill them until he wants to kill them. You don't got to worry about saving them tomorrow in case they get hit by a bus or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my belief about Ryan is that I think that he'll actually become a Christian.
Could be.
Because the reason I believe that about him is because I believe he actually cares about the truth, even if there are elements of it that scares him half to death, just like most of us. I think because he cares about the truth, he'll eventually become a Christian. Because I think that what will happen is he'll end up seeing some of the lies of social media, of mainstream media, and all of the deceptions that have happened that are distracting from the basics of what we believe and the gospel. Because you can't learn the gospel from the mainstream media without just a miracle from God, basically. So
I don't think you can learn the gospel from the church without a miracle from God or the Bible. But
God has to intervene. That's
exactly. So,
all right. We see that you say you're here, Larry King, but I don't understand how this works.
If God communicates with you, how would you describe that, Boingo Bear? I'm not sure what your tone is with that question. I guess I would describe that as answered prayer, or possibly divine intervention if you didn't ask anything of him. That's probably how I would describe it. But he can communicate with you in any number of ways. He communicates to you via creation, sometimes an audible voice, sometimes dreams and visions, sometimes sensations. The problem is there's going to be a lot of people and a lot of forces impersonating him. So, what was that? Hey, Larry, what's up, buddy?
Hey,
looks like you brought your girl. I'm glad you're smiling.
Yeah.
Kind of weird that your face isn't changing, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. Now I've got two screens up, so let me close one.
For
Yeah, I
some
was about to
reason,
say there's pretty
for
good
some-
echo there.
for some reason, I pictured you as a skinny, kind of crooked-looking Jewish fella
No Jewish at all.
in like a talk show TV, you know. Oh, he left. I scared him off. You get the joke? Larry King, yeah.
Oh wow, because Larry King is wow.
That's what Larry. Come on, that was a good joke.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been completely blind my entire life to identifying any ethnicity in that regard. So
Yeah, the Jews are sneaky like that. Larry,
all right,
I'm back. Listen, I don't know how to get it onto my Mac. I'm mildly retarded when it comes to digital.
Yo, Robert Pearson, how's it going?
My intellect with computers is horrible.
Larry, I had no idea, but your voice is so similar to Ronald Jinkies.
I don't know who that is.
He's one of my favorite YouTube musicians, and he's got a gift from God. He is extremely talented.
You want me to sing? You want me to sing you a song? I'll try to sound just like him.
No, he doesn't sing at all. He just he plays like 3 keyboards at the same time and stuff. He's just extremely talented. Your voice is similar, a little deeper than him, but Ronald Jinkies, you can look him up
sometime.
sometime.
New song about the lilacs and the bumblebees.
What?
I don't know.
You want to hear a lilac and bumblebee song?
Sing about the Muna and the Juna.
Oh, I can't do that.
So, are you audio only on purpose, Larry?
No. Let me figure it out.
Larry doesn't do anything on purpose. That much should be clear to everybody.
Oh my God,
that's 100%.
I like Larry.
Wow.
I don't trust him though.
I don't know why not.
I also don't trust this new fella, Big B Lupo, and I want to ban him. I want Mr. Goodbear to come back and ban him. Have we made Mr. Goodbear into a wrench?
I should.
Mr. Goodbear would see
Am I here?
through the subterfuge and trickery of
Hey, there you are.
I'm here.
Larry, you could pass as West Side Bear's cousin. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I've seen one time.
Yeah, he came on the stream last week.
Yeah.
I was gonna make an incest joke, but I wasn't sure how you'd take that, being Jewish and all.
Jewish?
Oh, that's right.
I am not Jewish.
What I was gonna say, yeah, and his brother-in-law at the same time, but but then you would have taken it as a slam against country people when it's actually a slam against Jews because your name is Larry King.
Intoxicating masculinity says he already said he was tech retarded. Why are you mocking him?
Yes, no kidding. I'm tech retarded. How do I get this from my iPhone to my Mac?
That's a good question. I would say that you should open up your email program, or open up your email from your computer and then click on a link. But I don't know how this works because I've never been invited to somebody else's Google Hangout. I don't think.
You're going to lose viewers based on this transaction, Devin.
Say what?
You're going to lose viewers based on this cajoled transaction here.
It doesn't matter. I've lost 10 subscribers today. Just today. I don't even know how.
Yeah.
Every time Devin brings me on, he loses subscribers preemptively.
Let me see if I can get my email up.
Well, that's not what contributed to all the loss of subscribers today. I don't understand really and truly, because I wouldn't have assumed that the people that were attacking me were previously subscribers. that wouldn't even make any sense that they were like ever a subscriber. So it's like somebody else was like, I don't know. I don't know why people, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I'm trying to be two places at one time, I think.
Oh, it's all good. Well, I was just happy to see that Robert Pearson is all good. All right. So speaking of, if there's anybody, does anybody in the chat, please, like at Gospel Bearer, respond to me. Let me see if I can show you on the camera. I have something that I need to sell. Anybody that has a baby, 1 year old to like basically 6 months, or basically any baby under 2.5 or 3 years old.
Hey guys, just an announcement. My wife is pregnant.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, there was a
details.
night where everything was confused and everything went blurry.
All right, are you seeing what I'm showing?
Yeah.
Sounds like you got a vision from God or something.
I did. It was the room turned white and my head started spinning. It was weird.
That happened to me the other night, but all that came out of me was well, it's inappropriate.
All right, so anyway, these are cloth diapers.
Hey,
and I need somebody to buy them. My wife was saying eBay is going to be a terrible option, and Craigslist, you wind up having a murderer visit you. So there's 13 cloth covers, there's 15 insert liners, there's 6 pre-folds, and there's 3 plastic covers. It's basically like new for the most part.
Hey, QAnon Bear, different people will answer this question differently. Is any sin unforgivable? I've heard that the only sin that's unforgivable is rejecting Jesus Christ. But of course, you could reject him 3 times and then accept him the 4th, and you'd be forgiven.
Yeah, Ezekiel 33 explains that.
Yeah, and then the other one I've heard is that carrying the Lord's name in vain, he won't hold those people guiltless. And that's a little more complicated. Everything is possible with God.
And I've also heard blasphemy of the Spirit.
Well, yeah, that's what the Bible says, but the best way to explain it is just...
I don't know what to make of that one. I never really understood that one, to be honest with you.
It's rejecting it. Jesus talked about it. I mean, it's rejecting Jesus as the Son of God. Because if you reject him, you reject God himself, which is why all the Jews are committing blasphemy against the Holy Spirit.
But then, they can change, though. That's the thing.
They can, yeah, they can. And that's why the thing about sin and redemption and any of that stuff is it's as outside of time as God is, as long as you still have life. Now, like when Ryan was here and he was talking about like making a decision after death potentially, that's kind of what the Jews do believe. They believe in a purgatory-like reality that you have eternity in a place where you are tormented, but you're refined like by the fire. Instead of being tormented by the fire, you're refined by the fire, according to the Jews. And eventually everybody can be purified and make it to heaven, according to the Jews.
That's very interesting, and I've never heard that before, although I did hear something extremely similar from a Catholic. Bigby Lupo says that denying the Holy Spirit means to deny the Holy Spirit to speak through you when you are face to face with the Antichrist. Or with
I've heard aspects of that. Denying the whole blaspheming the Holy Spirit is when you don't allow God to speak through you, is another perspective of that, and that is an unforgivable sin in regards to you can't come back from that kind of mentality. The matter is, it could be related to vessels of destruction. The point is, I mean, I don't even know how valuable the question is in the first place, because why do we need to ask questions about what not to do exactly?
Yeah, well, the short answer is that there is no unforgivable sin. If you had committed an unforgivable sin, you wouldn't be asking that question anyways.
I'll be right back, guys.
That's cool, man. Nate, are you still with us, or did everything freeze? How did everything freeze at the same time? That's so weird. I don't understand how both of them would have frozen at the same time. But in the meantime, I'll just be reading the chat and responding to stuff. It's signing in God's name. I don't know that there's different levels of heaven in much as there are different treasures, and hypothetically, the things that you do to be obedient to God will be a blessing to you in heaven in a form of clothing. I mean, it's been explained in that way too. It's fascinating. But okay, sinning. It's sinning in God's name. Yeah. These are all possible. My point would be, let's not focus as much on what the unforgivable sins are as much as we should focus on how to be saved from our sin. And if you're not interested in that, then you probably have committed the unforgivable sin, which is permanently rejecting Christ one way or another. And there's probably more than one way. But I think that there's a perspective issue in regards to time. Yes, but not different levels. There are different crowns people wear and different levels of glory, but not different levels. Yeah. Main thing is that everyone has the same heaven, the same access to God. Yes, when you're in heaven, for sure. You wore your red shirt. Dude, you're invited. You're invited anyway, so. Hey, man. Welcome back.
All right, so I can only get it on my phone. I can't get it on my computer.
Okay.
I can't figure out why, so I guess I'm on my phone.
I got you, man. I don't know much about it.
I prefer my phone or my computer. My computer's got 98%, and my phone's about 40%. So I'll keep figuring it out. But I thought if I got off of this and tried to go on that, it would be better.
Gotcha. Trying to. There needs to be more chats like this. You guys got it all over Owen for substance. I don't know what that means. All over Owen for substance.
Was that the topic that they were talking about? Substance is not what substance appears on the seriously thread that you had this morning?
Yeah. So the people that were arguing, I don't really understand who they are, where they came from, but yeah, they were basically trying to argue that because Satan exists physically, evil exists physically.
Right.
I was trying to, and that they also tried to make the argument that evil exists physically.
I'm sorry.
I was trying. It's all good, man.
Got to mute that.
Yeah, it's all good. I was trying to explain the metaphor that the Bible gives in regards to light and dark. But it is a deeper topic, as I like to bounce things off of my wife. and ideas and such. And somebody had mentioned in the chat or in the comments or something about, do you not believe in objects or people being possessed, basically, and demons? And well, yeah, obviously. But what does that mean for the object? What does that mean for things that are hypothetically cursed? You know, what is voodoo? What are possessed items? What are items that have been offered up to idols and so on that seem to create havoc or evil or nightmares or apparitions or whatever? What is that if not physically existing in the realm of evil? So there are elements that I'm not trying to completely ignore or dismiss of what I'm saying. What I was trying to posit was basically that there is God and that there is not a anti-God. And that was the main premise that I wanted to stand firmly on. And I will continue to stand firmly on as I seek to better understand how to describe those other things that I was just mentioning, like demon possession and objects that have been cursed and different, because there is that too. But I still will always reject the concept that there is any equal opposite to God. I think that is heresy, and it's what I keep on saying Luciferians, but I mean it literally. They believe that Satan is an equal, like the yin and yang to God, and it's nonsense. So
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't.
Hey, Boingo Bear, you asked about the woodwork. I posted that video publicly. It was a 3-hour video. I'm not done, so I'll be finishing that up this weekend a little bit. It's going to be tough because I've got a busy weekend, but anyway, I'm not done. So, but I have this, and I don't even know how in the world. I feel like this is supposed to go into a handle, right? My wife got this. It's like I don't know, it's like $5 or something. But
Devin, it's called a bastard file.
That's exactly what it's called. I know. I saw that and I was like, what? What the heck? You must know. So what, you work with wood too?
No, not really. I just think the name for the tool is funny.
How'd you know? You just knew that, huh? How convenient, buddy. So you're a lot younger than I expected, actually. You know,
34.
Oh, same age.
Yeah, I'll be 35 June 20th.
Oh, wow. You're actually a little older than me. I'll be 34 in like 2.5 days or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, man. So 84 then, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool stuff. Well.
So how do you think your buddy Ryan is gonna find his way? Do you think it will happen or no?
Yeah, I was saying in the chat, you know, I think he's intellectually honest enough. I think that there, with any of us, that any type of person that cares about the truth and tries to be intellectually honest, I think that it will happen. The barrier, there's obviously the call of God, and the Holy Spirit, and people in his life like myself praying. But the other barrier is self and fear. So I've thought about those things, and that's why I was kind of correcting some of the people in the chat that were saying things, and I was like, listen, this is my friend, and care about him, and we should, you know, be kind and encouraging and prayerful. And I don't know, there was some people saying some stuff, and I was just like, I don't know where your guys' minds are at, but also I can't expect that everybody I can't expect that everybody in the chat is just going to be on the same page as me, or I'm not the most mature man in the world. So
Yeah.
I say this, I'm not saying that by thinking that there's some people in the chat that could be less mature than me, I'm not saying that I've reached some special level. I've not arrived anywhere. I'm still trying to do better, but there was a little bit of, I'm not ashamed to say that there was some immaturity in some of the comments.
Right.
So that's all I'm saying.
Well, I think I personally, I believe that as long as somebody is asking the question and progressing the conversation instead of just shutting down the conversation, I'm right, you're wrong,
Yeah.
Christianity stuff is nonsense, then you're on a good path for him to take in what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I asked him. That was a sincere and vulnerable question that I was asking him. I was like, what have I done since we've known each other? And, he said, you haven't made me get closer, but you've clarified some things for me. And, he said that he thinks I'm a good person and stuff like that. And I'm just like, a lot of good that is, but but I mean, at least on the other hand, at least I'm not like some type of vile hypocrite in his mind either, which I think that he's an honest enough person to say so, either off air or on air. I think that either way he would say something about that. So
I think another good thing that you might try, not so much driving home with him, is the difference. Don't literally drive home with him either.
No, I'm laughing at bare arms, but go ahead.
The thought process of what makes Christianity the religion, and in my opinion, there's a strong case for the resurrection is what makes Christianity the religion. Does that make sense?
It does.
No other religion head figure claims to be so godly that they were killed and resurrected. So
there's a lot of magical things about Muhammad, but the difference is it's not corroborated,
right,
at all.
Right.
There's no historical corroboration,
right,
at all.
And that's where I enjoy listening to you guys, is you and Nate and Baldy and Chuck. You guys are all so good at bringing up the things that I couldn't even think about.
I can't hear you all of a sudden.
Can you hear me?
Might be my fault.
I can hear you, Larry.
Okay, so you guys are all good at thinking of things that I couldn't even think about. My wife told me one time that I know enough to be dangerous.
I got you.
Yeah, so that's my extent of knowledge, really. I can get you there, but then if you ask too many difficult questions, I'm going to have to divert. That's why I like guys like you, so that I can go, hey, I don't know that answer, but I've got a resource.
Yeah, man, but that's I try to say a lot of the same thing. It's I don't know the answer, but I know the one that does.
Yeah.
And every single person, no matter if you're 9 years old or 90, can say, "Hey, listen, this is what I know," but you can find out the rest of the Bible. And
hey.
So,
hey, let's liven this up and play some strip poker.
You want to?
That's
you don't want to see those beautiful abs you've been hiding from me, you old Jew.
Oh my gosh. Please,
you don't want to see the bear.
Look at that. Look at
that. No, what really was funny was Bear Arms said, "Whoa, that is West Side Bear's cousin." I mean, it's funny, but you really, I'm gonna see if we can invite him. I don't know what he's up to tonight.
I gotta read this chat.
I don't know what that quote was, Ghostbusters, in Ghostbusters, Boingo Bear, but the seas do boil. That is part of it. part of the end times.
That was in it.
And by the way, it was interesting with your friend on because like you could tell how my whole like style or my skill is like designed for confrontation. So if I've got somebody that just is not needing any confrontation, it just does not work. It's fun to ask a lot of questions, but it works very well.
Well, yeah, you come across, Nate, you come across as confrontational. And
but what's interesting is I'm mostly asking questions. So, and by the way, there's a similar thing.
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying the wrong thing.
Huh?
When you're speaking and you're asking your questions, it comes across as though you're trying to steer somebody into a pigeonhole. It always feels as if you're trying to pigeonhole when you're asking the questions you are, because you ask questions one after another, and it sounds like you have a design and an order and a direction you're going.
I'm just trying to figure out where they're at usually. But I get what you're saying, and for what it's worth, there was a similar thing that happened when I had on a cowardly libertarian to defend anti-nationalism. Because libertarianism is a philosophy of cowardice, and anyways, he was so non-confrontational that I couldn't take the conversation anywhere. Although it ended up being pretty good. I just couldn't get him to engage. You know what I mean? And the whole point of asking questions is getting somebody to engage.
All right. So I don't know what Alex is doing because he was invited.
Hey, intoxicating masculinity. I just wanted to let you know. I don't know if you've heard this, but libertarianism is a philosophy rooted in cowardice. And if you want proof on that, there's a very lively discussion between me and a libertarian who, which is on, I believe, your channel. So, how you doing, Larry? What are you all about, by the way?
I'm good. What am I about?
I just want to get to know you.
What's your queries?
What do you like to do? What do you care about?
I care about the Lord.
When the sun sets, what's the type of thought that flows through your mind as your eyes drift off to sleep? Normal question.
So I'm an inspector. I work as fabrication inspector at Spirit Air Systems down in Wichita.
Kidding. Dude, yeah, I am surrounded by inspectors. I do a bunch of pest control on all these different aerospace companies and furniture companies. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're fighting this 737 MAX thing right now with Boeing, and it ain't.
I'm sorry for laughing.
It ain't good. You're fine. You're laughing up.
Bear Arms calls you East Side Bear.
I'm East Side Bear.
Hey, because of West Side Bear, you got West Side Bear.
That'll work. Do we need to change my name? I'll be East Side Bear.
Well, you don't. You technically don't have a bear name, so.
I have a bear name.
Larry King is my real name.
Yeah, man.
What do you think about rules? You big fan of rules? You're a rule guy.
It depends. I did 10 years military service, so I was ruled for 10 years.
So you like rules, huh?
Well, no, I don't say that I like rules now.
Well, you either hate rules or you don't have an opinion on them, which means you like them.
I can get behind certain rules. However, from a libertarian view, I don't like government rules.
Okay.
I know your stance on libertarian.
Yeah, I don't really have a stance on libertarianism. I mean, my stance is that they're pretty good, but they don't tend to stand is the problem because it's rooted in cowardice.
My thing is, Washington, D.C. has no idea what's good for my family here in Kansas.
Yes.
Yet they make every rule and legislation anything that you want to do, you have to ask for permission, get licensed, or pay tax on to do it.
Yeah.
That's not true freedom in my book.
So
if I want to go down to the river right now, I don't have a fishing license. My fishing license expired last week. If I want to go down to the fishing hole down here, I ought to be able to take my fishing rods and pull me a couple of crappie out, bring them home and eat them. But
well, if you really feel that way, I would recommend not buying into Have you ever watched Futurama?
No.
I like Futurama.
It's a really hilarious show. The Jews got to it right about the 3rd season.
Oh, wow.
No, they really did. If you look at it, it's Cohen, but there's a great episode on there about the neutral planet. And you got to watch the episode about the neutral planet because it really, no matter how tough libertarians talk, a lot of times it ends up being the neutral planet where it's like, all I know is my heart says maybe. And you got Zap Brannigan running around being like the evil of neutral. What makes a man turn neutral? Right. I don't trust him. And so he ends up burning down their whole planet.
Right. Well, no, I mean, I think Baldy and I have a close outlook on things as far as what I've heard him say, in the sense that there's certain things that are okay, but there's certain things that are not as far as rules are concerned. I don't know. I just wish I could be left alone to my own devices. Yeah, because I know what my family needs.
And I wish you would be too, but the problem is you never will be as a libertarian, because libertarianism means you want to leave evil people alone, and they will come and take your watering hole.
No, I want to crush the evil.
Good. If you want to crush the evil, you should become a Christian totalitarian.
Put me down.
I think I need to take one of those little political spectrum tests or something like that, because
we are winning. The Christian totalitarians are winning against the neutrals because they take a stance on things. You know what I mean? You have to aggressively let people do what they want to do.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to tell me what to do anymore. Really. Good. Unless, like at work, I signed up to go to work, so I signed up to conform to their rules.
Yeah.
That's okay in my book.
It's okay. Eventually it will corrupt you. Jobs do that. Because you have to give up your ethics. It's like slavery. But if you go with a libertarian government, every situation of evil will become the one that you opt into, and you will basically have no other options but opting into it. In fact, that's very similar to how we live now. You know what I mean? Yeah. That debate the debate I had with Baldy, the crux of that debate, the climax of that debate was if a moral people cannot maintain, or if a moral people becomes immoral and they cannot maintain freedom and they're becoming more immoral, how does giving them more freedom solve the problem? Well, it doesn't. Now, you could have a libertarian government in your little town in Kansas, maybe, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm more and more on board of a Deuteronomy law book. Let's stone these adulterers. You know what I mean? And then, just sympathy and mercy can be given. But on the law books, you get stoned for saying God is a pedophile. And we can forgive you, but not until we humiliate you in public, at the very least.
How does a nation determine the law?
How does a nation determine the law? Mm-hmm. Are you using the word nation like Fox Day uses it? Or are you using the word nation to mean state and government? It really depends.
America.
The American nation or the American government?
How does the American nation set forth laws for us to follow.
The American nation determines law the way through what we're doing right now. These kinds of conversations.
Yeah, but but if you base it on that, then there's conflicting laws.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
because it's all done. All legislation is done at the higher points. Nobody.
Are you saying how should the government determine law?
Yeah, that kind of question. Yeah.
Nobody came
okay,
to
so that's a different
house.
question.
So how do you justify? Obviously, as Christians, we're like, yeah, we should just use God's law, and well, that makes sense. But how do you do that in a country that's not a theocracy?
You forcibly make it into a theocracy.
Okay, so you're saying that in your opinion, the only way to make this nation truly operate in a functional longevity kind of way is forced theocracy.
No, actually, I'm not sure that's the only option left to our nation. I think there are a couple of other options, but I do think that is the last option we will have.
How was that not how? Haven't there been other examples of that?
Yes, many good examples of it working out very well.
How? If they don't exist anymore?
Well, several of them do exist.
You're talking about like the Roman Empire? Wasn't that a form of a theocracy at one point?
No, the Roman Empire was never a theocracy.
The church pretty much ran things.
Oh, are you okay? So, you're talking about after Constantine. No, the church never ran things. Constantine was never a religious figure.
Right,
the empire ran the church, so it's the exact opposite. The church didn't run things. You could talk about certain like medieval governments.
Okay, so what's a good example of a theocracy in our Saudi Arabia? I mean, is that what you're thinking?
Oh, in our current time, right here, right now.
Just a well-known example. It doesn't have to be current.
I would say Oliver Cromwell in England or the puritanical New England colonies would be good examples of Christian theocracy. I probably wouldn't use the word
theocracy.
Huh?
Any religion. Buddhist, anything.
A theocracy with the loose definition you're talking about, it does. I would not advocate it in any other religion. It only works in Christianity.
Okay. Well, I wouldn't argue with that, but I was just wondering historically if there were any others like functioning theocracies. Yeah. Like, is there a government that operates 100% on Buddhist principles, or are there sections of India that operate unanimously under the concept of Hinduism, or aren't there religious states in the Middle East that are actually functioning under Islam?
Yeah, and I think those ones are more successful than their neighbors in a lot of ways. But I don't advocate Islam. Islam is wrong and Christianity is right. You know what I mean? So that's the fundamental difference. Now, intoxicating masculinity, what you're saying is true. Forced morality does not save anybody. However, neither does any form of government ever, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
See, you have.
What about the corruption? What about the power to those people? How do you think that it's possible for
it saves
consider fallen man being a monarchy and a theocracy, and is it one man or is it a team of people, like a group of elders that are running the country in this not utopian per se, but like
well, if you go back to like Plato and Aristotle, probably the worst form of government would be a government run by a small group of people.
The aristocracy thing.
Well, an aristocracy is a little different, but no, more like a plutocracy or an oligarchy or
the Athenian city. I mean, is this what we're talking about?
Well, an Athenian city was a republic. So the difference.
I thought it was a group of like 15 wise people from different groups or whatever, and they just joined together and made rules.
No.
It was 100, but
it was all of the citizens of the city could vote.
Oh, Okay.
So that's why they call it a democracy. But the majority of the population weren't citizens. So
I'm thinking of the Athenian city thing.
Here's the thing. Okay, so if you have a small group of people that rule for life, which is kind of the in-between, then you have the worst of both worlds. There is absolutely no unity and absolutely no freedom. So it's like a marriage where it's 50-50. A 50-50 marriage fails because no always wins. Whoever says no in the marriage gets to make the say. So if the wife says no, she wins. If the husband says no, he wins. That's how it works. And that's why that form of government is a failure completely. Now, if you have the majority of the population as moral, then it makes sense for a democracy because the majority of the population will rule correctly. If you have a strong portion of the country as moral, then it makes sense to have a republic like we've had in America and just design it like the founding fathers did to favor those groups of people. The reason they put in things like electoral colleges and things like that was to take power away from the cities because they knew more moral people lived in the country. And there are plenty of quotes. They describe cities as festering sores on the body of a nation. They hated cities, a lot of them. So they specifically designed it to take power away from the cities because they did not believe those people would be moral. They also favored landed people and men because they thought landed people who had land and people who were men were more likely to be moral than other groups of people. And it worked very well. They did
how do you even determine
mostly by quotes
what statistically, how do you statistically determine what qualifies somebody as a moral person compared to the next man? I'm confused about that.
It's not, well, I suppose it wouldn't be so much.
Do you have to I'm sorry to cut you off, but is it quantified by whether or not the person has ever committed a misdemeanor or a felony? Is that how you would do it? How would you do that?
So it wouldn't be so much moral as it would be practically moral, which denotes wisdom. So it would be the people who were wise.
How do you test for that?
Well, they just knew that wiser people tended, the country tends to raise up wiser people than the city, and owning land tends to make you wiser. And they believe that being a man made you wiser too.
Who's they? Well, who are you referring to?
The founding fathers.
Oh, okay.
So that's why our country succeeded. Now, if you have a small minority of the country who is practically moral or wise, then the only successful government would be one where there is one leader. And you could limit his power, sure, and give him a constitution and all that, but one leader, because you would have a chance of that leader being a moral person. If you have a democracy or republic, you have no chance.
Well, how do you prevent the getting bought?
Well, the
lobbyists and stuff.
Do you mean them corrupting over time?
Not corrupting over time, but like, hey, listen, our group really cares about music in the schools and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh yeah, music's good. And they give money to those people, but those people are also using that money for something else. Like,
so the way you would do it,
or CPAC or whatever the different things are that are trying to gain.
So the way you would do it would be two primary things. One would be putting extreme limitations on taxation, which is what the Bible did in the Mosaic Law. Is it said when you have a king, and then it limited his ability to tax and to draft severely. And so that's one way you can do it. Of course, you still have private organizations that will try to pay him off, and that's why it's important for him to be a wise person. The other way you can do it, which is the way the Romans invented, was by creating so much competition for power that the leader of the country was too busy dealing with the many rivals who were trying to take his position to really tyrannize the country. So they say that the best thing about the Roman emperors for the first 100 or 150 years or whatever is that they only tyrannized Rome. It wasn't until after the first 100 or 150 years, whatever the period is, that they were so powerful that they could leave Rome and tyrannize the rest of the empire. So that's the biggest thing, is if they're busy, like Game of Thrones, if they're busy fighting their rivals all the time, they don't have time to screw with the farmers, you know. So that's how you do it. And you have to also understand that it's all a waiting game. Eventually, there will be a worldwide government taken over by the Antichrist. So the difference is whether or not we get there, you know, sooner rather than later. And these are ways of slowing that down. By the way, these are the exact ways I'm discovering right now is how God did it in the Bible with Israel.
It's interesting because do you have the chat right now?
I got distracted, but yeah, it's up. What's up? What am I looking for?
Oh, just intoxicating. He was talking about the multiple judges that were used in the Bible,
and that failed too. And that is, by the way, that is a better form of government if you're relatively safe from outside invaders. If you look at the book of Judges, it wasn't until the end that they were ever at threat of being completely conquered. They were decentralized, so it was only usually a portion of the country that was conquered. It's kind of like Machiavelli describes this when he talks about a country is usually either easily conquered and hard to hold, or hard to conquer and easy to hold. If you have a centralized government, like he was talking about with Turkey, then all you do is you take the throne, you take the crown, and then you own the whole government. And the whole country follows you. But it's very difficult because it's a very powerful government. But if you wanted to take over France, it'd be really easy because there's so many aristocrats with their private land that all you have to do is get one of them turned against the king. But once you own it, then you have to fight all those aristocrats.
So you just go full on conquest.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that as a country becomes, our country was highly decentralized in the beginning. As it becomes more and more centralized,
I think that was the vision.
That was the vision.
About to say.
And that's always the vision. But any political philosopher or any historian knows that everything tends towards centralization. That's the force of the Antichrist. So governments over time will become more and more centralized until you have revolution. So, and revolution can sometimes reset that, or sometimes further. So the problem with America right now is we are too centralized. People are the difference. See, the difference between your local community and the country at large is much smaller than it was in the beginning.
But it's changing.
So let me propose.
It could go backwards.
Ideal.
Go ahead.
Let me propose my ideal scenario for the way America theoretically should be run. States' rights, 100%, all day, every day. Sure. What's right for Kansas is right for Kansas and Kansas alone.
But the problem,
if it doesn't work in Kansas, if it doesn't work for you in Kansas, then Oklahoma, Nebraska, Colorado, they're all willing to take you. And if you don't like it there, then I guess you're going to get somewhere where you will like it. But my biggest gripe, my biggest complaint is the government overreach of Big Brother telling me exactly what's good for me, having never had stepped foot in the state of Kansas.
Yeah, and everyone hates that. But the problem, Larry, that makes it impractical is 45% of the country now, under the age of 35, moves and does not live in the state it was born in. So there's no and right now you might be able to pull that off, but within 10, 15 years, if it keeps going, there is absolutely no unity within the communities of this country. There's only a few communities, and a lot of the people who watch this channel, I understand, are more into the deep country or whatnot, where it is unified. But I just moved out to the country here from Seattle, and it was fascinating to see that here people are losing their sense of community. And it's not just moving around. It's also the fact that in order to provide for a family now, you have to have 2 incomes. So I was telling these guys that I was talking to here, I said they had moved here 7 years ago, and they told me they haven't really made any friends here yet. And I said, that's amazing, because North Carolina is one of the friendliest states there is, and this is a country town, and everybody should know each other, but they don't. And what I realized is it's because everybody's trying to keep their wives home from work, and they're working 2 or 3 jobs. They're never at home, so they have no idea who their neighbors are. And then you couple that with the fact that their neighbors are moving more and more.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we lost him again. I can relate because, I was having a lot of issues with my phone too. Totally get it. I was on a roll. Yeah, man, it's all good.
I just think
that it's changing, though. That was my comment. Is like Louisiana. I keep on sharing the news with everybody. Louisiana just joined the party, and that was even with a Democratic governor.
Yeah.
Which.
Yep. There's got to be changes. There's got to be changes on the government overreach, because right now in the case of abortion.
Mm-hmm.
The government has its thumb on all these states saying, we say it's legal, deal with it. And until those states can pick their pants up off the ground
mm-hmm.
and say, no, you know what? That's not what's best for my state.
Mm-hmm.
Get it out of here, like Georgia and Alabama, those guys are doing. And it needs to spread nationwide until it's pockets of baby killing clinics on the eastern and western seaboard where we're pushing them out of our country.
Yeah, and I think that Christians should continue to push back with their language too. So, for instance, I think that we should completely reject the phrase birth control.
Yeah.
For instance, because that doesn't even make any sense. My wife did a video, and I'm assuming that only the good people are left in chat.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on over to her channel. Some of you all know how to reach it. I've posted the link before. In fact, Alex Woofy Bear saw the video, but she posted a video about abortion, and I think it's something along the lines of the solution that I'll have to pull it up, but basically nobody seems to want to talk about abstinence, the easiest solution. Everybody knows that rape is just the tiniest of tiny proportion of the situation, so it's not really justifiable to use as an argument. Anyway.
Yeah, and I see in the chat, Intoxicating Masculinity said the mobility between states is why states' rights are awesome. If each state is different, move to once you align with that state, presumably, and that's the way it should be. I think if Kansas is not for you, then Kansas is not for you, or if Jersey's not for you, then Jersey's not for you. And I don't see why that would be the bad thing. Why would that be the bad thing?
I'm posting the link in the chat. That's her video. So, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I see. Yeah. My nose itches. Well, do you have any thoughts or questions about? Well, let me just ask. When did you become a Christian? I'm just curious.
So I was raised up in a Methodist church in South Carolina. I attended my whole life until I joined the military. And when I joined the military, I said, you know what, this religion stuff's going to take a back burner, because I'd figured out it was more fun to drink and carouse women and do my sinning.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple of times while I was in that I really had a come to Jesus meeting that they didn't take. And so now my wife and I married 2016.
Okay.
And she's an Assemblies of God lady.
Okay.
And she poked and prodded me to go to church for months. And I finally give in. I said, let's go to church. And I went over here, and I absolutely loved it, man. It was like I was walking into a family. And we started over there, let's see, around about June of 16, somewhere around in that time frame. August 17, I was baptized in East Lake here in Newton.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm doing a bachelor's or an associate's program in biblical science, biblical studies rather. So I'm trying to find my way. You know, I'm trying to gain knowledge. That's where I want to be. I like apologetics and I like to argue. So
there's tons to learn, and you never really stop.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat had asked, I think it was Boingo Bear. He said he's kind of new to this thing, and he was asking the question, and I just wanted to share my answer verbally for anybody that doesn't read the live chat. He asked, how do you read the Bible? And my answer was a very practical answer, I guess. But I said, read Genesis, then read the Gospels, and then read the whole Bible start to finish. Because I think that first you need to understand who God is.
Yeah.
And what he, how he operates, who he is, what he was capable of. The story of the beginning of things, I think, is extremely important and paints a necessary context, especially if you read the entire book of Genesis and not just the first couple of chapters, because you start to see some themes even in Genesis. And then you read the Gospels and you're like, okay, so there's this Jesus guy and he's the Son of God, and that's the God that I just read about. Okay. And then you read the whole thing and you're like, this is a big story. So anyway, that's my technique wasn't that. So I don't mean to be a hypocrite. It's just I got when I started going to church, I immediately was fascinated by heaven. So I actually started off reading mostly Revelation, book of Revelation. So that was just me, though. So the point is that in some ways it's just going to be where God leads you and your prior knowledge. My prior knowledge was nothing really.
I tried to do my first tour in Iraq. They gave us all Bibles. I don't know if that had been standard practice or not, but we all got those black GI Bibles.
Okay.
I was sitting one day and I opened it up and I tried to start reading Genesis, and I had plans to go from Genesis to Revelations. And it doesn't work, because once you hit Lamentations and those books, you kind of get bogged down as a new believer.
The lineage. It's the who had who and who had who.
Yeah, and it's very, very useful information, but you have to have your comprehension first. And I think that in my heart, I believe that the Holy Spirit guides us into reading that book. And so if we're just picking it up, trying to read it as a literary document, not prayer, not reading through prayer, not reading through prayer of the Spirit and asking for his guidance, then we will read it as a literary book, and it's a story at that point. So until until I gave in and submitted and said, you know what, Jesus, you are my Lord, you are my Savior. I have to do it your way. Teach me how to read. Teach me how to read your book. And my first read was Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I read the Gospels full through, and then Acts and how they established the church. And I went into Romans, and then I started coming back into the Old Testament a little bit to catch up with some of the history as to why they did what they did.
Yeah. Well, we have Baldylocks with us now.
What's up, man?
Welcome.
I just got on here. Since Nate's not on here, I could annoy him because he can't rebut anything I say. I'm just kidding.
He's still technically invited, but
yeah, I know. It's just his phone's in the freezer or whatever.
Oh my god!
You might need to turn me down. I don't know if my mic's hot or not.
I preemptively did that.
Of course,
I could hear you breathing. So you were here for most of the conversation with Ryan?
No, I for like the first at least 45 minutes I was hanging with the wife, so
okay. Gotcha.
I didn't hear all of it. I caught the end. Yeah, I caught most of the end. Okay. I couldn't really understand the track y'all were on a little bit, talking about the pedophilia and stuff like that, but that's what I was listening to.
That was just something Nate was bringing up, that there was some crazy person that he was talking to that he was angry about. So
gotcha. Well, I think he was. What I was perceiving was, and maybe he had an ulterior motive. Obviously, you guys know it's hard to tell with Nate sometimes, but he was trying to talk about maybe objective truth, like why he would believe a certain person would be worse than another. But I'm not sure. Nate, is that what you were trying to get at? Were you trying to get him, Ryan, to talk about objective truth, like why he would despise the pedophile but not somebody else?
Well, it's as a kind of artsy guy, I always have a general idea of where I'm trying to get to, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. What I was thinking was I would go from, because I usually share the gospel the way C.S. Lewis does in Mere Christianity. So I figured if I could get him to be real specific about a moral law, I might be able to get from there to the gospel. Because that's how C.S. Lewis does.
The way that his perspective is everything's extremely existential, though.
I know.
And the whole truth.
That's why it was really important to get very specific. And that was what I was attempting to do. The reason why I bring up pedophilia is because it's something that still nearly everybody will consider to be evil. So
in the West, yeah.
So anyways, but I'm probably my phone's gonna die, and I wanted to finish the thing I was saying, if you guys don't mind. Because
we moved on to the Bible, Nate.
Well, I think it's really important, because here's the thing you have to understand is I want a libertarian country in practical existence. So if you understand history, people throughout the Roman Empire were probably the most free when the empire first came. So because it was united, no one was really fighting each other except for the barbarians. It was civilized, and because the empire was so new, there was no ability to control all the peasants. So my point is us living in this country right now, our government is more tyrannical than a monarchy would be, because if it was led by one man, he wouldn't have the power to tyrannize every one of us like our federal government does right now. Our federal government is so specific. Do you understand how rare it is in history for a government to have enough power to decide how many animals each person can kill?
How about a government? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How about a government that can determine whether you can collect rainwater or not?
Exactly.
For your own use. But this is, Nate, this is what I'm talking about. That's why libertarians exist. Yes. Is because our government was founded on principles of the people being able to choose how they were ruled not through democracy, but through representation, through republic. And so,
Yes.
but we've gotten to the point where that's garbage. We don't have a republic anymore. We have lobbyists and money that controls everything. That's why I think it's so funny when people bash libertarianism when they say, well, if you go to libertarianism, money's going to control everything. That's hilarious because money already controls everything.
Money already controls everything. So if you give all the power to, I was arguing about this before, if you give all the power to the states on the generational gap, if you give all the power to the states, they will be even more tyrannical than the federal government does. Because
no way. By volume, they couldn't be. And the citizenry, depending on the state, that's the beauty of state sovereignty, is depending on the state, you would not be able to. What am I looking at, dude?
Oh, I'm just trying to show you guys how I have your all's volume.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. You got to bury me. This mic is like super sensitive.
It's hilarious.
But anyway,
so just
no,
my case before I.
No, but put it this way: the citizenry of Kentucky will revolt against this government if it tries to impose horrible laws on them that they disagree with. The citizenry of California is a bunch of soy boys that'll put its tail between its leg, and they won't revolt. So yeah, in that case, they could be tyrannical because they're spineless. But in states where you're not spineless, you'll have a good state, and that's where I'd go live.
The problem is that you have so much movement of population that you will have different states take over other states.
It'll never happen because listen.
Let me just finish.
Because you made a point that's not true, so I'm going to stop you on that point because it's not true. And you know how I know it's not true? I know it's not true because Californians always talk about it. Oh, we'll move to the swing states and we'll push them in our direction. And those wussies never do it. They stay in California because they want their lollipops and their fancy pants that they get from their government in California. They don't want to move to Florida. They don't want to move to a swing state because it's too hard. They won't have all their sunlight.
A huge exodus from California, though.
There is, but they're only going to states that provide them with a better financial opportunity. It's Texas, not because they're trying to change votes. Exactly.
A lot of them are going to Texas,
which is majorly political. So, and you can see the same thing if you study the history of the states right before the Civil War, because they were doing the same thing to swing states to slave or not slave.
Right, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
My point is that there will be two alternatives. Okay, if the country stays, especially if it stays imperial, then we will probably have a tyrant. And if the Christians are not willing to have a Christian tyrant, then we will.
Wow.
What happened? Did it overheat again?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah. The problem is I'll make the point, even though he doesn't like it, even a Christian tyrant is a tyrant. And as we saw with Israel, when you give that much power to religious people, they don't handle it well. They actually corrupt, just like anybody else would, because we're human beings. So that's anyway, I don't want to get super political conversation on this, but I obviously have strong political views. But anyway,
how ought it be though is kind of what it all.
Well, that's the whole thing is we can't live and Big B was in the chat and he was talking about the best society would be one where Yeshua rules, and it's like that would be ideal. Unfortunately, he's not the ruler of this world at this time, so therefore we have to figure out the system that operates best.
Well, I
with
feel like
men
even
ruling.
Asking that question is a silly question because that is what the Constitution was like. That was designed and put together by very thoughtful people, provably so. Probably one of the most significant political documents that has ever existed.
Which is partially Nate's point, which I agree with, because that's one of the things that Nate will talk about is libertarianism would work if you had God-fearing men, like it was when the Constitution was written. And I agree with him on that. But my thing's not as pragmatistic as it is about morality, and I think morality is only moral if it's voluntary. It's kind of just that's just basic, simple. Why I'm saying that. But anyway,
but if you make, I mean, on one side, there's a lot of things that people do every single day that are illegal. So the law doesn't stop bad things from happening, obviously.
No, sure.
But then on the other hand, we have a judicial system and the jails and everything are functioning. I don't even know truly what proportion of the jails have people in them that are truly a danger to society, which should be the purpose of jail, maybe. Because back in the day, there was such a thing as ostracizing people where they just get out. And I think that'd probably be better. Talk about saving a bunch of money if you just destroyed all the jails and you just said, nope.
Yeah.
You've got to leave. You can try to come back someday, but we're going to have your rap sheet and, you'll have to enter this country like an immigrant.
That's what okay, I'm not going to call it libertarian in this case because that's actually pushes toward anarchy, which I'm not very concerned about the water, Larry. I like it. All right, hydrate up, buddy.
What?
Larry's just drinking out of a gallon jug right now. He believes in hydration. I
don't understand how that's anarchy.
No. I'm talking about Larry. Larry is chugging a gallon of water right now.
I don't understand how kicking somebody out of your country because they're not obeying the laws
is
anarchy.
I was setting up what I was saying. Removing jails, removing government punishment of crime is an anarchist point of view because you're removing the government's ability to punish crime.
Not removing, changing.
Changing.
Yeah. Kicking people out of the country instead of putting them in jail and paying for them a free ride in jail.
Right. So what anarchists would want would be that instead of the government forcing them out, it's just society that forces them out.
No.
Because it's volunteerism where you say, okay, you touched a child. See, I don't. Okay, so at the risk of sounding crazy, I think it's silly that vigilantism is illegal because most vigilantes are actually doing what law enforcement should be doing but sucks at.
Yeah,
and then they get arrested for it. Huh?
That's what Antifa is vigilante.
But they're not vigilante justice, as most people would agree. They're acts of violence. See, that's the thing.
They think that they're acting justly in their own context of thought.
I'm not an anarchist. I'm not going to defend anarchism. I'm not going to defend the idea. I'm just saying that the idea that you push people out of society that can't conform to what you deem as acceptable is usually anarchism. But anyway, it's fine. And they use the system of like shunning, much like the church would do. That's how a lot of the Puritans operated. Was public shaming. Public shaming was more powerful.
But in smaller context.
Exactly. That's the problem. That's why I keep going back to 320 million people makes it impossible for a lot of these things to work. But the principles. That's why I'm not an anarchist. I'm a constitutional libertarian. Because I think the Constitution is valid. There should be some government. There should be some national security provided by the government. But they shouldn't be telling me what I can buy and who I can buy from and, what business can't sell from Kentucky to Kansas and back and forth and all this nonsense. Like, that's the whole health insurance thing. You can't sell health insurance across state lines. That's insane. Why?
Right. Yeah.
We're the United States. That's insane. We're not. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to, as a life insurance agent, I had to get a reciprocal license in every state.
It's so dumb.
And I looked it up. What's her name? Not Judge Judy. It's some
Janine.
No, there's some crazy lady that was like, I was a life insurance agent in all 50 states. It's the lady that she's like a financial guru, or she used to be more popular. I think she's maybe disappeared. I don't have TV anymore.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't watch
Susie
any TV.
Orman? Is that a name?
Say it again.
Susie Orman?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't recognize it. Larry, you know that name or no?
No.
I think that's the
You
name.
can give us the idea without the name, dude. You're fine.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. But anyway, there actually are ways to get nationwide licenses. It's like $4,000 or $5,000 or something like that. But,
which is theft at that point. That's literally theft at that point. Like, that's just crazy.
$150 for a license for a reciprocal in Georgia, and I never even used it.
Yeah.
And then that money for those licenses goes to Big Papa in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, the big ones. But
anyway, what were we doing? We were talking about something good though. We were talking about well, Larry was talking about how he came to know the Lord, and then was talking about how he was reading the Bible.
Yeah.
You went from the Gospels to Romans. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I went Gospels, Acts, Romans, and then kind of bounced back a little bit. Went into based on my interest, I went into Isaiah and Ezekiel, and that's where I found my interest in the prophetic word of Christ as Messiah. So I think, that gave me the knowledge that not only did they talk about it while Jesus was here, this stuff's been talked about 400, 500, 600 years before Jesus was here. So that's where you get the point to the Messiah and who the Messiah is. I feel like in my heart of hearts, the Bible in and of itself points to Jesus Christ before Jesus Christ was even born a number of times.
Yeah. Which is one of the indicators as to what distinguishes Christianity from. There's so many distinguishing factors.
Yeah.
But it's hard to convey all of them in 3 or 4 or 5 minutes.
I did have a small success the other day at work. There's a guy, he's a devout atheist. I mean, he believes that the men wrote the book and they wrote it years after the incident. And I said that and he listed the Gospels. The Gospels were written well after, he said,
well, they were.
And I said, yeah, you're right. I said, but hey, how about this? How about the way Jesus Christ was crucified? So when Christ was crucified, the two others on the crosses behind him, they broke their shins and for the final blow. But for Jesus, they stabbed him in the side. And that was not the typical Roman exit method for crucifixion. Well, and I said, what if I could show you that in a book of the Bible that was written 400 years before that scenario was going to play out?
Here's the other thing, though. Eyewitnesses were still alive.
Yeah.
When the Gospels were written. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, and that's the other thing is you look at, give me another example of eyewitnesses to something, and we'll just call it 12 of them, even though there was more. 12 eyewitnesses to an event, all eventually died for their statements of that event.
Yes.
Whether it was in exile of natural causes in exile, or it was as a martyr, they all died for professing that was true. Tell me anybody else that does that. There's people that die as martyrs, but they're not eyewitnesses. They're just believing a tale that somebody else told them.
The moon landing? I'm just kidding, guys.
What's wrong with you?
Those guys all died. Those guys all died professing that the moon landing happened.
They're not all dead.
I know.
Yet. Anyway. Oh my gosh.
No, that's. I mean, that's an important thing. The eyewitness thing is one of the strongest cases for the historicity of the gospel and the prophecy. I mean, you just do a little digging. All of the age of the books is not questioned, not to the level of, well, the entire Bible was written in the year 500. you can't make a claim like that. You can't. You can pretend, but it's not even an argument. So
right. But that, those things are part of what fosters my belief in the Holy Spirit being imperative in someone coming to Christ. Because if I can look at these things analytically, and both of you guys saying you've done the same thing, you've looked at the prophecy and the fulfillment of prophecy, and you've looked at extra biblical accounts of the same stuff. You read Josephus and you see all this stuff and you go, yeah, logically this makes sense. And then you compare that with science and you go, oh yeah, that actually aligns with science how this is playing out. And we see that as logical, and yet someone who is basically just as logical as you or I sees it and goes, nah, I'm not convinced. That's how you got to go, okay, so that's not me doing a bad job of convincing you. That's the Holy Spirit hasn't opened your eyes or something, because clearly your heart's just hard right now, So anyway.
Yeah, I was trying to remind people of Judas. Judas had the best teacher that ever was.
Exactly.
And he was confronted with absolute perfect truth day in and day out for 3 years? That's a long time. Give or take, whenever he was selected, but
right.
Still.
Yeah. But I think that's beautiful, because it takes the pressure off of you as someone that's evangelizing. Like, it takes all the pressure off of you. You're like, all right, so I'm being obedient. I've studied. I'm going to share what's on my heart. I'm going to share what Christ has done for me. But if this person doesn't accept it, brush my shoulders off and move on to the next one, because he's not rejecting me. Like this, just move on to the next one. I'm being obedient,
Exactly.
You don't have to take it so hard. So, but you also, while you celebrate someone coming to Christ, you can't take credit for it either. When someone does accept, you can't be like, "Oh, see how many people I've won,"
Yes, and I've heard that before. I've had 300 like that. I heard a dude say I had 300,000 people in my lifetime. 300,000 people, they claimed, came to Christ because of their ministry, and I was like,
"Yeah,
that's a scary thought there, bud."
And there's countless stories that you can read of missionaries who were faithful and preachers who were faithful and didn't record a single convert. And then you'll find out that the mission work they started, like in a third world country or whatever, the mission work they started, after they died, all these people came to know the Lord. And you're like, you can't base it on numbers, man. You're just faithful and obedient, and success is not, numbers and all this nonsense. So.
And I think then you have somebody like Billy Graham, that his ministry probably kept track of things. But I don't think that man for a moment thought, oh, wow, this number. If they probably told him, but I don't know. Yeah. I know people have mixed feelings about him, but
I think much like any ministry, I think some people got involved in his ministry and people hopped on that weren't doing great things. But I think he stayed the course. They tried to do good things. My family was involved with the Billy Graham Crusade in the 80s when they were doing a lot of crusades. And one of the things that they did well that they now get criticized for was they came in ahead of the revival services and the crusades that they were doing, and they would equip people for counseling and witnessing, and they would bring they would bring church leaders together so that they had churches to send people to after they accepted Christ, right, for discipleship purposes. What else can you do other than that? You have discipleship opportunities, you have equipped people sharing the gospel. I don't know what more you could be doing, but still he gets criticized for selling fire insurance, that people would roll in, say a prayer, roll out, and and leave unchanged. And it's like, man, it's not for lack of trying on his part, from what I could tell. So
yeah, because it's about the planting of the seeds, and they gave materials. It's not like they just were like, well, figure it out with your imagination. You know,
Right.
anyway.
But that's what they get criticized for. It's interesting.
And it kind of goes back to, well, what are you doing? It's like,
right. Oh, that's always what I do. I'm just like, I'm sorry. You're criticizing because they're not doing it perfectly. You're doing nothing.
the dude went to North Korea twice. I mean, Dennis Rodman's been to North Korea a couple of times too, but he didn't talk about Jesus. To talk about Jesus in North Korea more than once, the fact that he was even welcome back, that seems in and of itself like a miracle. I don't understand that at all. I don't understand why there wasn't an overt, no, you're not welcome here. We know what you're about and you're not welcome. I don't understand.
It's the Holy. That's the Holy Spirit. That's what more evidence do you need?
I know.
Like
well,
that's the softening of hearts, right?
And by the way, when I'm saying stuff like I don't get it.
No, I know, dude. For those in the chat, he gets it.
The point I'm saying, apart from a miracle of God, I don't.
Right.
Get it. And that's what I mean by there's tons of different evidences for the skeptics, and that's kind of what this whole stream was supposed to be about. Even though it can be tough to wing and off the cuff a topic like that, but
hey, I say get Ryan to do a list of 10 questions that he has and have him come back on and let somebody sit down with him and just say, hey, here's the explanation from that, from our point of view on that question.
He doesn't have them yet. He's not interested.
Yeah.
He thinks that he's okay. He thinks he's fine. Yeah. He has his interests in life, and I'm not trying to speak too much for him, but he has his interests. He has his fears, just similar to us all. Yeah. But he's just not actually. He's not angry at Christian. He just thinks it's a moot point, and so he's not asking questions yet. And maybe he will start to see some of the things, some of the holes.
Yeah.
Just that's why I like to philosophize about these different positions and religions and stuff like that. Like with the whole reincarnation thing, there are holes, things that don't make logical sense. And one thing that's true about God is he does make sense. He's confusing to those that don't understand the order of things.
For a reason.
For
a reason.
You said for a reason?
Yeah. I think that God has the hidden mysteries of God, and you're not going to understand them just because you want to understand them in order to see what it's all about, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You're going to go headlong in, and then you'll be given the secret mysteries. That's kind of the way I feel.
Well, if you were to put the phrase, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
You're good. Go ahead.
Larry, if you were to put the phrase secret mysteries of God, because I think that's lingo of the AOC. I mean, AOG, sorry.
Yeah.
No Freudian slip there. You're good. How else would you phrase the secrets of God?
I mean, just being able to open your eyes to a further, I don't know, a further dimension of understanding
of who God is and His name.
Yeah. Well, that I use the term mysteries of God as far as the things that belong to God, and until you fully commit yourself, until it's all your heart desires, then God is not going to give you everything that you're not asking for.
Gotcha. So what were you going to say, Jeremy?
I'm trying to remember, dude. I'm getting old. I
know.
My memory fleets.
Did people get banned? Somebody in the chat help me out. Did people get banned on this
I personally banned one person Someone before that got a timeout
I gave
and left. You gave him the timeout. So here's what happened. With the guy he gave the timeout, because I was able to view what he had said, since, you know, I'm just a lovely wrench and all. I was able to view, and he was basically mocking the seeking after God. He was pretending to seek after God, and then it became very apparent that that's all he was doing, was mocking someone that was seeking after God. Well, then that all happened before I got in the chat. So then when I got in the chat, this other guy was in there, and even though he joined the chat much later than the previous guy, he knew everything about what the previous guy had been asking and wondered why he got banned. Like, oh, gee, I wonder how you know he got banned. You are him. And the new guy obviously had no avatar and all that. So it was like he went and created an account just to get back on. And he was doing some of the same stuff, asking if we're anti-Semitic, asking why we banned people who are seeking. And, but it was, yeah. He was arguing about that idea. Like, why would you ban somebody who's seeking? I'm like, we don't ban anybody who's actually seeking, but we're not going to sit here. This is the thing, dude. I worked in the prison for way too long.
Yeah.
And I literally, because here's one of the things inmates will do. If they find out that you're a Christian, they try and figure out, okay, will this Christian share the gospel, right? And I would. So they'd have somebody come up where you're responsible for like 96 inmates, and they'd have one inmate come and distract you and ask you about your faith. Meanwhile, behind you, somebody's getting jumped, somebody's getting robbed, somebody's getting raped. I mean, literally all kinds of stuff going on under the guise of you're being distracted to give the gospel. So, unfortunately, it's made me very cynical when people are seeking, and it just doesn't seem genuine. You know what I mean? Like, the questions seem either cookie cutter, like they're literally reading the questions off of a tract or something, you know?
Yeah, it's a distraction theory.
Yep.
They'll pull all of us over into the chat while the main show's going on, and we're missing everything else out of the main show. That's the way I think about it.
I think so too. I think we're sitting here trying to grow in knowledge, and they're pulling us away from it with something crazy.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not quick. You know, I'm not quick to ban people. I try not to. I mean,
no, that's what I was talking about today on my, and I'm kind of chuckling at the fact that everybody in the chat is a wrench pretty much. But I was talking about that today, that there is a difference between opportunity people and distraction people. And the distraction people need banned.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't mean that they can't watch. It just means they can't talk.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I find that interesting, by the way. I always laugh about it on Owen's stream when people are like, that when you had a members only chat, that people are like, oh, that's awful. I'm like, I don't know. When I used to watch my TV, which was a while ago, I didn't chat back to the actors, you know, like you're tuning in to be entertained. Like, what is this ego that you have to have your voice heard or you're not watching? Like, I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Well, so. I mean, part of what is annoying about getting banned is because you care way less. Most people care way less about Owen seeing what they have to say, and more about conversing with each other as a community.
No, I get that. Yeah.
So, you know, there's that, and that's pretty much. And by the way,
and obviously, again, Owen streams are geared toward interaction. They didn't used to be. Originally, they weren't. But
Boingo Bear is super depressed all of a sudden. I think because he doesn't have a wrench.
Make him a mod.
I like to mock. Devin with his wrench giving. You get a wrench. You get a wrench. Everybody gets a wrench.
His name is Devin Winfrey. You didn't know that?
That's exactly it, man.
Oh, by the way, I think my wife is home now, so we should wrap this up. It means I have to get the groceries and all that. Any final remarks, guys?
I think you should have Larry on more often.
Yeah,
he doesn't rival me in beard length, but it's much nicer than mine.
Give it a few months. I've shaved.
Yeah, I need to trim mine down because it's getting a little wiry.
I cut mine down 2 years ago when I had my son, so that he wouldn't have much to pull on.
Nice.
So I'm growing this one out, and I told my wife the next one is due in December, and I'm just gonna grow it out until he or she is born. So
I'm literally about to end the stream, Nate. So everybody say,
I know.
Listen,
I came back.
well.
I love you all very much. It was great hanging out for a little bit. I did, but if Nate's going to be on here, I gotta go. So bye.
Love y'all. Have fun, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, maybe.
All right.
I want to leave with my customary catchphrase, which is that libertarianism is based off of a cowardice philosophy.
Oh my God. Boo. Yeah, that's what Nate always says. You know, he's always talking about the libertarians that he loves.
It's an old saying. It's been going.
Alrighty. Well, everybody have
wise men for many hundreds of years.
Apparently, they're going to have a part 2 to their debate. Everybody have a good night, and
I won the first debate.
Read the Bible.